Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 561, Treasure Trove. Chapter 561, Treasure Trove. To think that this fire-water secret grounds would exist in a dimension of its own. This fire-water emperor's cultivation state must have definitely defied the heavens. He must be someone who was crazy strong. The moment Lin Fan pulled Fairy Hongyun with him into the secret ground, his body was torn at by the berserk energy currents surging in from the surrounding dimensional void. Lin Fan released a counter-aura around his surroundings, keeping the berserk energy currents at bay. Fairy Hongyun wanted to unleash everything she had to keep out the energy currents. However, she realized that Lin Fan's counter-aura was already doing the job, leaving her shocked beyond words. To think that Lin Fan would be this strong. Unexpected, truly. I have underestimated your powers still. This dimensional torrent could be considered to have the powers of a divine celestial level 1, true state being. Without the use of a treasure, I wouldn't be able to defend against it at all, and would just be shred into minced meat in the blink of an eye. Fairy Hongyun remarked. Lin Fan smiled indifferently, not bothered with his surroundings in the least bit. Right now, his entire body was like a sharp blade cutting through this dimensional torrent. We're going to cross through this area real soon now. Time to raise our awareness level. Lin Fan warned. Yes, Fairy Hongyun nodded her head. She had not expected things to turn out as such, where the ancient race beings would slaughter her fellow sect members and steal their talisman papers to gain access. Right now, Fairy Hongyun was feeling a little worried in her heart, wondering if anything had happened to the remaining fellow sect members of hers. After all, the ancient race beings were really cruel and powerful. If her sect members were to bump into them, there was no guarantee that they could hold out against them. Not long after, Lin Fan passed through the dimensional torrent and arrived at this new place together with Fairy Hongyun. This world seemed like a merger of the shades of red and blue. Right before their very eyes was a gigantic ocean. One could not tell the boundaries of this ocean with just a single look. There was no hint at all towards the sort of dangers that might be awaiting them in this place. And just as Lin Fan and Fairy Hongyun were ready to tread forth, that calm ocean suddenly raged into a frenzy, with gigantic waves forming. Suddenly, a bright flash of light pierced forth from the surface of the ocean. To think that there would be more beings of the thousands of races arriving. Time to kill them and snatch over their bodies. From the deep ends of the ocean, a small, blue-colored water spirit army gathered. These water spirits were formed from the gigantic ocean. Without a definite shape, their bodies gleamed with a dark blue hue, ripples moving up and down their formless bodies. Be careful, these are water spirits, Fairy Hongyun could not help but warn. November LBJNN. Lin Fan had not expected naturally born spirits to exist within this secret ground. His spirits wavered slightly as his sword will burst forth, killing one of the water spirits instantly. To think that these water spirits would possess a desolate celestial cultivation state on their own. Not only that, they were clumped together densely. Even if it were a divine celestial level 1, true state being who dropped into their midst due to carelessness, he would definitely find it tricky to deal with. Ding! Congratulations on killing water spirit. Ding! Obtained water chi of the 5 elements. Upon hearing the notifications from the system, Lin Fan's face changed. To think that killing these water spirits would help him obtain the water of the 5 elements. This was unexpected. Even though Demon City had evolved once by now, it was only supported by pure power as a foundation. While Lin Fan had gathered the earth component of the 5 elements, he did not have any clues at all regarding the other 4 elements. Therefore, the fact that he could obtain water of the 5 elements just by killing this water spirit caused him to feel a little puzzled. Even though this was just a strain of the water element, the water spirits made up for it in terms of quantity. If he were to kill all of them, he might just be able to gather enough of the water element. To think that this living being would dare to kill our comrade. Damn it, everyone, let's devour him and steal his body. The water spirit army began to cause a frenzied ruckus, apparently angered over Lin Fan's actions. The waves surged up, covering the entire heaven and earth. Let us hurry up and dodge these water spirits. If we were to be surrounded by them, it'd be hard to break out of their offenses. Fairy Hongyun said nervously. Observing the army properly, Fairy Hongyun noticed that some of them were at the Divine Celestial Level 1, True State Cultivation State. In fact, there were even Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State Water Spirits amongst them. If they were truly surrounded by them, they might very well be exhausted to death just fighting against them. No matter, Lin Fan waved his hand dismissively. Initially, Lin Fan had wanted to make haste on entering this place. However, upon discovering that these water spirits possessed strains of the water element, he was really excited. Demon City, come on out. The moment the big ancient demon appeared, he howled out in fury. Killing out towards these water spirits, he snatched away the water element from their very bodies. Damn it, how dare this living being kill our comrades as well? One of the Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State water spirits hollered out in anger on seeing this. He wielded a pitchfork with his arm, which shone with a deep blue hue as well. A closer look at it would reveal that it was a middle-grade Dao weapon. Water God Realm. Yelling out, a bright beam of light burst forth from the body of the water spirit. This light covered all of the water spirits, and raised their power levels in the process. Slapping out with his palm, Lin Fan sent a boundless aura rippling out towards these water spirits. Under the might of this aura, the realm of that water spirit began to crack like a mirror, leaving deep scars all over it. Crack! With a grab of that gigantic hand of his, Lin Fan captured a large number of water spirits within his fist. Giving it a tight squish, a thick stream of water element dripped down from his fingertips into the demon city. What a dense amount of water element. Seems like the higher the cultivation states of these water spirits, the stronger is their water element. Lin Fan was exhilarated right now. To think that he would meet with such an encounter. For any other living being, the water element would be utterly useless, unless they could find a good way to cultivate it. However, to Lin Fan, the water element was something absolutely irreplaceable. This was especially important for the demon city. As long as he could gather a definite amount of the water element, he would be able to form the river of the water element. Once he could convert it into one of the true 5 elements, the power of demon city would definitely rise up once more. Looking at the way Lin Fan was slaughtering the water spirits, Fairy Hongyun felt her brows tighten, feeling somewhat incredulous. To think that the Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State Water Spirit would be utterly defenseless towards its death. This was definitely unimaginable for Fairy Hongyun. Even though its realm might not be the strongest of all, it was undeniable that the water spirit was still a true blue powerful Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State being. Just what was the extent of this Lin Fan's strength? Fairy Hongyun did not dare to imagine any further. Devour! Lin Fan hollered out as his unparalleled aura turned into a razor-sharp sword, cutting up these water spirits. Opening his mouth, the big ancient demon sucked in everything in one fell swoop, taking the water element that was formed from these water spirits into his stomach and cultivating while fusing it with itself. Everyone, run! That darned living being is devouring us! The water spirits screamed out in horror. Immediately, the water spirit army began to disperse, as they tried escaping into the world of the ocean below. The water spirits had not expected this living being to be this strong. HMPH, run! How can I possibly let you guys do that? For Lin Fan, this place was basically a treasure trove. Chapter 562, Cultivate the Water Element River. Chapter 562, Cultivate the Water Element River. The moment the Doomsday Calamity God Fist slammed out, it covered the entire sky. In front of these innumerable and powerful water spirits, Lin Fan did not dare to be careless at all, as he punched out 9 whole times. 9 was the optimum number. Therefore, these 9 fists represented the peak of Lin Fan's strength. Instantly, 9 Doomsday Calamity God spirits stood towering between the heaven and earth, slaughtering out towards the water spirits. The water spirits were used to overwhelming everything with their advantage in numbers. To think that they would meet with a sicko such as Lin Fan. Lin Fan, just enough will do. We've still got to head up ahead to check things out. Fairy Hongyun was looking at everything with a stunned expression right now. She had not expected Lin Fan to be this strong. To think that these water spirits were being slain like casual bugs. Even if she were to fall into their midst by accident, she would find herself in an extremely sticky situation. In fact, if she were even slightly careless, she might very well perish right here. All right, Lin Fan did not hesitate. The water element within the demon city was increasing by the minute. It was even developing towards forming a river by now. If he were to kill just that bit more, he would definitely be able to form his true water element river. However, Lin Fan was pretty bewildered right now. Just what sort of an existence was this fire water emperor? To think that even the entrance of his burial grounds would be protected by such water spirits. November LBJNN. Powerful being, he must be terrifyingly powerful. And also, what sort of a race was it that could produce a powerful being such as the fire water emperor? If this were the case, why didn't the heavenly emperor Yuan mention anything about this? Unless this were to mean that the fire water emperor existed in an era even before that of heavenly emperor Yuan and the others. At this moment, Lin Fan was just traversing around the area. Slamming out fist after fist, his infinite power made contact with this boundless ocean. Big ancient demon, devour the heaven and earth. Instantly, the energy level within Lin Fan's body surged upwards, as that everlasting power rippled through his body. As the big ancient demon opened his gigantic mouth, a huge vortex appeared. The suction power of this vortex was crazy. It was as though it wanted to devour the entire ocean altogether. This was practically an unfathomable image for Fairy Hongyun, who was witnessing everything before her very eyes. Just what sort of crazy power must one possess in order to back a powerful attack as such? Burn. Instantly, Lin Fan ignited all the Shengyang pills within his storage. Turning into a long river, they flowed in the direction of the big ancient demon. The mythical parasol tree began to sprout leaves as well, as its power spread out immensely, boosting itself onto the body of the big ancient demon. Arg, this damned living being is trying to devour our core. Time to duke it out with him. The water spirits had not expected this living being to be this powerful. To think that it would go straight at devouring the core of their river. How could the water spirits tolerate something like this? If their core were to be devoured by a living being, they would have no more chance of existing at all. Lin Fan's gaze was cold right now. As he slammed out his fist, it turned into a continuous stream of energy and crushed the bodies of the water spirits, killing them immediately. The cultivation states of these water spirits weren't that high. Even after killing them, the experience points obtained were pretty limited. However, the most important thing for Lin Fan right now was to obtain the water element. Boundless and endless, the vast ocean was nearly devoured to its depth by the big ancient demon. Those existing water spirits were howling out continuously as they were destroyed. This infinite water element began to find its way, fusing within the demon city. Lin Fan, all of these water spirits are living beings. I don't think that there's a need to eradicate them down to the very last one. Looking at how Lin Fan was exterminating the water spirits wave after wave, Fairy Hongyun commented with some sort of reluctance. Hongyun, even if I don't kill them, the ancient race beings are going to kill all of them. Besides, after killing them, I can use them to raise my cultivation state. With that, I'll possess even more power to fight against the ancient race. Lin Fan did not stop his actions. In fact, his attacks got even faster. Fairy Hongyun went silent upon hearing Lin Fan's words. She could agree with Lin Fan's logic. Suddenly, Lin Fan caught sight of a water country at the depth of the ocean. This was the territory of the water spirits. Seize. Lin Fan was overwhelmed with joy right now. As long as he could seize the water country, his water element river was bound to succeed for sure. The aura of the water element being emitted from the water country was 10,000, no, 100 million times stronger than that being emitted from the water spirits themselves. The fire-water secret grounds had existed for a long time now, and so had the water spirits that were born here. This water country was a treasure that was formed by the water element of the 5 elements. Indeed, a secret ground which is yet to be discovered as a true secret ground. Even though there are risks everywhere, there are encounters along with them as well. Lin Fan could not help but acknowledge in his heart. They were the first batch of living beings to step foot into and explore this fire-water secret ground. Even though a large number of treasures would definitely be lost after the exploration process, who knew how many more hidden treasures were in the deeper areas of the secret grounds? As such, this place would still definitely be a treasure trove for future adventurers. This water country was good stuff indeed. The only reason why the sect members of Fairy Hongyun did not reap it in was because they were being chased and hunted down by the ancient race beings. Because of that, they had to disregard it, benefiting Lin Fan in the process. With that, the big ancient demon stretched out his heaven-encompassing arm and grabbed out at everything, holding the water country within its palms. With a massive holler, the muscles of the big ancient demon expanded wildly. The mountains shook, and the trees withered. The moment the water country was uprooted by the big ancient demon, the entire ocean began to dry up. Damned living being, how dare he destroy our core? The water spirits wailed out. However, they were thoroughly helpless, as they could only witness their core being snatched away by this big ancient demon. At the moment the water country was being pulled away, they found themselves being sucked towards their water country helplessly as well. Cultivate. Slapping out millions of fists, Lin Fan used his energy to bolster the demon city, causing it to sparkle with a brilliant glow. Cultivate, cultivate, conate 5 elements, water element river. Instantly, the water country began to melt and turn into a river of sorts. This river possessed an endless amount of energy as it dove right into the demon city. Whirring. Suddenly, the demon city began to vibrate violently. Amongst the 5 elements, 2 of them began to emit bright lights. One of them was the earth element river, and the other one was none other than the water element river. At this moment, the water element river finally finished congealing, as Lin Fan felt exhilarated. Indeed, there were tons of encounters awaiting one in secret grounds. In the blink of an eye, Lin Fan could feel the power level of his demon city climbing up, turning way stronger than ever before. After congealing the water element river, Lin Fan could feel a vast difference within his body as well. Water could flood everything in the world. As the river passed through his body, he could feel all sorts of impurities being washed away. He was cleansed by this marvelous river, as his mental state felt extremely refreshed and reached its peak level. From this day forth, nothing evil would be able to affect him. In fact, even the impurities that were created through the process of cultivation would cease to exist from this point onwards. Fairy Hongyun no longer had any comments to make. She was utterly flabbergasted by Lin Fan. The sort of power he possessed was definitely defying any natural order in this world. To think that the vast ocean would be forcefully cultivated just like that. Alright, let's go. Lin Fan was extremely pleased within his heart right now. The moment he entered this place, he had already gained a large bounty. Seemed like his life's affinity was definitely there. Chapter 563, A Squeeze of a Single Claw. Chapter 563, A Squeeze of a Single Claw. If you're killing all of these water spirits to retrieve their water element, does it mean that your treasure is lacking the 5 elements? Fairy Hongyun was pretty alarmed right now. To think that this person would be this strong. The amount of power that was exerted by him was definitely way beyond that of a divine celestial level 2, realm state. Hearing Fairy Hongyun's question, Lin Fan did not hide anything as he nodded his head, yes. I've already gathered the earth and water element of the 5 elements. I wonder if I can get to find the remaining 3. Fairy Hongyun gave a low grunt for a moment before raising her head. Amongst the conate 5 elements, the fire, water and earth elements are abundant and easy to discover. On the other hand, the conate metal and wood elements are insanely difficult to find. However, I just happen to know of 2 places which possess a large amount of metal and wood elements. No-vel-p in .com. Where? Lin Fan asked with surprise and anticipation. Based on Lin Fan's thoughts, if he were to be able to gather the 5 elements, Demon City would definitely be filled with an everlasting aura. With that constant energy revolving around it, Lin Fan had the confidence to push it up to the ranks of the utmost treasures. And just as Fairy Hongyun was about to reply, something happened in the distance. A single glance over and it was clear that a man and a woman were surrounded by a group of 3 ancient race beings. By the looks of it, it was evident that they weren't going to be able to hold out much longer. Senior brother Tianyan, senior sister Mukching. The moment Fairy Hongyun caught sight of them, her face turned pale. Without even bothering to conceal herself, she bolted over. The moment Lin Fan saw this, he followed tightly behind her without hesitation as well. Junior sister Mukching, the 3 of them are exceptionally devious. We must make sure that we do not separate. Slapping out with his fist, Tianyan was moving in circles along with their enemies. Got it. Mukching was pristine and gorgeous, revealing a sunny sort of beauty. Her eyes flashed brightly as her hands were constantly moving. Senior sister, senior brother. I'll assist you guys. At that moment, a crisp voice rang over. Turning their heads over, both of them were elated. It's junior sister Hongyun. This is good. With the inclusion of our junior sister, we can deal with these 3 ancient race beings and kill them. The moment Tianyan caught sight of Fairy Hongyun, his face was beaming with a strange sort of glow. Junior sister, you aren't alone. Who's that man behind you? Looking at the man who had followed behind her junior sister, Mukching's face was a little cautious. The moment Tianyan heard these words, he turned his head around. Instantly, he frowned in slight displeasure. However, given the pressing issue of taking down these ancient race beings, he did not pursue the matter further. We've got 2 more living beings arriving. As the 3 ancient race beings caught sight of Fairy Hongyun and Lin Fan, they grinned. By now, Lin Fan and Fairy Hongyun had arrived by the sides of both of them. Senior sister, where are the others? Fairy Hongyun asked. Just as we gathered at the entrance of the secret grounds, for some unknown reason, the ancient race beings managed to discover us. With that, all of us entered the secret grounds together and got separated due to that. I've got no idea where the others are right now. Mukching replied. Standing there, Lin Fan could sense the animosity in Tianyin's eyes, as though he was keeping his guard up, seeming somewhat unfriendly. However, none of that mattered to Lin Fan. If this guy did not know what was good for him and would dare to bother Lin Fan would definitely teach him a lesson. Junior sister Hongyun, now is not the time for that. These 3 ancient race beings are really powerful. We've got to hurry up and kill them before looking for the others. This time around, there's a large group of ancient race beings who have entered this place. If we were to delay this till the ancient race army arrives, we would definitely have to leave our bodies here. Tianyin chimed in. Pitiful living beings, this newly discovered secret ground of yours shall witness the descent of our great ancient race army before long. By then, all of you shall have to die here. One of the 3 ancient race beings jeered haughtily. Kill those 2 men, we can enjoy ourselves with the 2 women later on. The other 2 mocked in laughter. HMPH, ancient race beings. Don't you dare go overboard. Today, with me, Tianyin around, none of you shall be able to harm my junior sisters. With that, Tianyin stepped forth as his aura rumbled fiercely. However, because he had expended way too much earlier on, his chi was evidently weaker in comparison. Lin Fan took a look at the 3 ancient race beings before him. All of them were in the true state. Weaklings. As for the 2 sect members of Fairy Hongyun, both of them were in the true state as well. However, compared to the 3 ancient race beings, they were far weaker. Even in the same state, there were stronger and weaker beings. Even though Fairy Hongyun belonged in the true state as well, she was even stronger than her own senior brother and sister. And of course, someone like Lin Fan was definitely the top of everyone else who were in the Divine Celestial Level 2, realm state. Puny living beings. Die. With that, the auras of the 3 ancient race beings burst forth furiously. Compressed into a single line of force, their aura shot out at Lin Fan's group. Tianyin's face focused up without faltering in the face of danger. Slapping out hundreds of palm strikes into the air, he deployed several ultimate moves. Junior sisters, wait till I distract their attention. By then, circle around them and kill them from the sides. Tianyin ordered. Yes, Mukching nodded her head. Tianyin had no intention of wanting to know who this Lin Fan fellow was. From the start, he was already pretty pissed off looking at this Lin Fan appearing together with his junior sister. All of these ancient race beings are just ants. I can kill them with the back of my palm. You guys just stay back and watch. Deploying. So near, yet so far, Lin Fan appeared standing before Tianyin instantly. What are you trying to do? This isn't something you can handle. Looking at how this stranger had dared to stand before him without realizing the danger, Tianyin's face changed. Evidently, there was a feeling of rage mixed within his emotions. Mukching frowned as well. Even though she did not know who this man who had arrived together with her junior sister was, how could he be this careless before the ancient race beings? Big words. Upon hearing the words of Lin Fan, all 3 of the ancient race beings bellowed out loudly. To think that this guy would dare to be so cocky at the brink of his death. Lin Fan turned around at Tianyin and Mukching before grinning with the side of his lips and grabbing out at the void with a claw-like motion. This was a really calm, gentle claw, without any violent vibrations or tremors. However, this one simple claw motion was enough to cause the 3 ancient race beings to lose every single last bit of color from their faces. Suddenly, the 3 of them felt as though the entire surrounding void had been sealed up. To their horror, they couldn't budge their bodies in the slightest bit at all. Reaching into the void with his 5 fingers, Lin Fan tightened his grasp as he closed his fingers. Bam, bam, bam. Instantly, 3 gigantic explosions reverberated through the void. As though they were squeezed by some formless power, all 3 ancient race beings were turned into a blood mist instantly. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 1, True State Ancient Race Being. ... The essence chi of the 3 ancient race beings was sucked in immediately by the big ancient demon as well. This, Tianyin and Mukching felt their hearts take a swoop down as they witnessed everything unfolding before their eyes. To think that the three ancient race beings, who had given them so much pressure, would be squeezed to death by this stranger. Just what sort of power should he possess in order to achieve that feat? Fairy Hong-yun smiled gently. Evidently, all of this was something that she had already expected, as she apparently did not see anything wrong with this. When she turned around and caught the dumbfounded expressions of her two seniors, she let out a sigh. If they had caught sight of how he cleared up that entire swarm of water spirits earlier on, their hearts would definitely pop right out of their mouths. Compared to that, squishing these three ancient race beings to death was nothing shocking at all. Chapter 564, Skyrocketing Jealousy. Chapter 564, Skyrocketing Jealousy. So strong. Mukching looked at Lin Fan with a stumped face. She had not expected this man, who was with her junior sister, to be this strong. However, Tianyan wasn't looking so good right now. This man had one-upped him right in their very faces. Not only that, each time he caught sight of this man making casual banter with his junior sister, he would feel a pinch of displeasure. Junior sister Hong-yun was not only beautiful, her disposition was really demure as well. Within the sect, he wasn't the only one who had taken a liking to her. She was the apple of the eyes of many senior brothers up above as well. Back when they were surrounded by the three ancient race beings, Tianyan was especially worked up when he realized that his junior sister Hong-yun had arrived. If they were to go through some trying situations in this secret ground together, they might have a chance of blossoming some mutual feelings. But, by the looks of the current situation, everything had been disrupted by this random stranger. How could Tianyan cheer up at a moment like this? Junior sister, this person is? Tianyan asked with a tinge of jealousy. Senior brother and sister, this man right here is Lin Fan. He is the pride of the human race. Back when I was being hunted down by the Evil Alliance, he was the one who had rescued me. Hong-yun replied. Evil Alliance. The moment Mukching and Tianyan heard the name of the organization, their entire faces froze up. At the same time, waves of respect were flooding through their eyes. Evidently, they had experienced the viciousness of the Evil Alliance for themselves as well. Lin Fan, the two of them are my senior brother and sister, Tianyan and Mukching. Hong-yun followed up with the introductions. Looking at the both of them, Lin Fan smiled casually. Back when I entered the secret grounds together with Hong-yun, there were already ancient race beings present. I'm afraid that the ancient race army would be arriving really soon. Lin Fan continued. If that's the case, we should make haste and look for the rest of them. After all, this place here is simply way too dangerous. If the ancient race army were to seal up the entrance later on, none of us would be leaving this place forever. Mukching commented worriedly. Calling her Hong-yun directly, isn't that real close, If anyone didn't know, they might even mistake you two for a couple. Looking at how Lin Fan was so used to calling out her name so casually, Tianyan's heart was aching terribly. However, what could he even do right now? It was evident that the other party's strength was way beyond his. How was he going to show off his charm now? Junior sister Hong-yun, are you able to try and make use of your unique gift to sense the location of our elders? Mukching asked. I'll give it a try. Fairy Hong-yun did not know whether she could sense them in this fire-water secret grounds as well. However, with the way things were right now, she could only give it a shot. Lin Fan was particularly curious towards this unique gift of Fairy Hong-yun, wondering how it worked. Suddenly, Lin Fan could sense a mysterious wave motion being emanated from the body of Fairy Hong-yun. This wave motion did not seem as though it was a skill or possessed any form of consciousness within it. It was hard to describe or explain. I sense it, albeit blurrier than usual. They should be in that rough direction. Fairy Hong-yun's eyes burst wide open abruptly as she remarked. At this moment, Lin Fan frowned. A series of wave motions were being echoed out from the direction behind them. Not only that, this motion was really frequent, as though someone was treading through the void. The ancient race beings are coming. Let's leave. Without further ado, Lin Fan flicked his robes and dragged Hong-yun with him, leaping into the void immediately while bursting forth with an immense speed. Such speed, Mukching's consciousness was rattled right now. However, as she caught sight of those razor-sharp energy currents of the void striking at Lin Fan's body, she exclaimed in shock. The faster one's speed was while traversing through the void, the heavier the damage that would be inflicted on their bodies by the void torrents. They had suddenly realized that the speed at which this man was dragging them through the void was impossibly fast. In fact, even their elders might not be able to match up with this speed. If only they knew that Lin Fan was deploying his, so near, yet so far, while taking them through the voids with them, that fact would probably cause their eyeballs to pop right out of their sockets. Once upon a time, there was a divine celestial level 1, true state being of the thousands of races who had tried deploying a physical body skill while traversing through the void. By the time he came out of the void, the meat was scraped off his body entirely, leaving nothing but a single set of white bones. Therefore, if anyone wanted to travel through the void with a rocket speed, they must know of the tough requirements that their bodies were required to have. Looking at the crazy speed of Lin Fan, Mukching couldn't help but wonder deeply, just how mighty is the physical body state of this man from the human race. Following the breakneck speed of Lin Fan, the deep blue void had long since disappeared. Replacing it was a sky of bright red clouds. At the same time, the temperature was steadily rising, as though they had entered a blazing hell. The Fire-Water Emperor. There's the fire element around here, Han Yun remarked after checking out her surroundings. There are 2 connate 5 elements in this secret ground. Lin Fan was startled for a moment. If that were truly the case, his entry into this place would definitely reap in big bounties for him. November LBJNN. No matter what it took, he definitely had to obtain this fire element. The Fire-Water Emperor is a powerful being of time immemorial, who had understood the true meaning of fire and water. As such, every single breath he took would spout out both connate water and fire. Even though he had fallen eventually, the true meaning of the fire and water he had cultivated would not vanish just like that. Now that such a long time has passed, this place must definitely possess an infinite amount of connate water and fire. Han Yun had a broad spectrum of knowledge. Back in the sect, she would always spend her time reading through books and records intensively. The genre didn't matter at all, she just loved reading. Therefore, over time, the amount of knowledge accumulated in her mind has reached a terrifying state. The more Lin Fan looked at Han Yun, the more of a liking he was taking to this girl. Bloody hell, this was just a walking encyclopedia. If he could bring her along by her side, he would definitely know everything about the ancient saint world in time to come. If only he could transfer all of the knowledge within Han Yun's mind into his own. What a wondrous thing that would be. But of course, those were just mere thoughts. If he were to transfer all of Han Yun's knowledge over to himself, Han Yun would definitely turn into a bloody retard. Hey, guys, take a look. Those fire spirits are absorbing the connate fire element and cultivating. Looking down below, Mukching exclaimed. At the moment right below them, a several 100 feet tall flaming giant was devouring the endless connate fire element and cultivating all sorts of skills. Just like the water spirits, these fire spirits were connate beings who were born from the fire element itself. Their cultivation speed was insanely horrific as well. Treasure trove. This place is just a treasure trove. Looking at the sea of flames, Lin Fan was excited beyond words. If anyone were to cultivate a fire-based skill, they could probably master it right up to its peak status in the blink of an eye within this connate fire element. After all, this connate fire element was a priceless treasure. Born from the world itself, something like this was only available to those with affinity. How dare yet another living being arrive to disturb the rest of our great Fire-Water Emperor? This is a crime punishable by death. All of a sudden, the eyes of the flaming giant burst wide open as it howled out into the sky in rage. As though they had a consciousness of their own, the flames on its body began to rumble furiously, forming all sorts of strange shapes. Out of nowhere, a massive burst of energy struck down from the void, disintegrating that flaming giant into dust instantly. A strain of pure fire element fused within Lin Fan's body instantly. Big, Lin Fan had really struck it right big time right now. There were indeed treasures lying around every single corner in this undiscovered secret ground. If not for the fact that he had met with Fairy Han Yun, Lin Fan might have never ever known about this place at all. Not only that, it would probably take him forever to gather up the 5 elements. There's a living being trying to kill us all. Comrades, let us band together to fight against the invader. The moment Lin Fan killed that flaming giant, all the fire spirits were enraged together. Within that sea of flames, all of the fire spirits gathered together in a dense patch and howled furiously. A myriad of fire-based skills burst forth into the void. What the hell is wrong with you? We could have passed through this place safely, but why did you have to kill that fire spirit because of your itchy fingers? Now that there are so many fire spirits, how are we supposed to get through this place? Looking at how the fire spirits were retaliating against Lin Fan's indiscriminate killing of their comrade, Tianyan was secretly gloating in his heart. His junior sister would definitely dislike someone like this who was totally oblivious to the bigger picture. However, something unbelievable was slowly unfolding right before his very eyes. Chapter 565, Middle Grade Dao Weapon. Chapter 565, Middle Grade Dao Weapon. Lin Fan, Hurry up and kill them, lest the ancient race catch up with us. Even though Fairy Hongyun was gentle and benevolent by nature, she had also understood something along this journey. Even if they did not kill these fire spirits, the ancient race beings or evil beings of the thousands of races would kill them to raise their own strength as well. If the enemies were to raise their power levels because of it, it would just spell trouble for the rest of them from the thousands of races, or even her own sect members as well. Yes, Lin Fan looked at Hongyun, a little stunned. However, he chuckled almost immediately. What a fantastic woman this was. To think that she would be so understanding about things. Junior sister, why you. Tianyan did not know what to say any longer. He, for one, knew that his junior sister was kind by nature, and did not like killing at all. But watching how his junior sister was now assisting this man in massacring these fire spirits, he did not know how to express this indignance he was feeling in his heart at all. Senior brother, hurry up and help out. Fairy Hongyun called out. Aye. At this moment, Tianyan truly wanted to spit out a mouthful of blood. Not only did his junior sister not hate this man because of this issue, she had even requested for him to assist that man. Tianyan truly did not wish to think any further. Hongyun, I only need your help. Your senior brother is way too weak. If he drops in their midst, he's almost definitely going to be killed by these fire spirits. By then, he'll only delay our time. Lin Fan chimed in. Holy FCK, hearing these words was akin to having someone hammer straight on the heart for Tianyan as it thumped loudly. This guy was evidently belittling him right in his face. Don't look down on me. Tianyan could not bear with this any further. To think that this guy would disparage him as such. If he didn't perform some kills right now, that man would definitely take him for a weakling. Demon City. Lin Fan took out his Demon City entirely. Now that it was fused with the water element river, the power level of Demon City had risen multiple folds by now. Slamming out with his fist, the big ancient demon extinguished the flames. With that, countless fire spirits were converted into connate fire element and fused with the Demon City. Combining their forces, Lin Fan and Hongyun were working hard at killing these fire spirits. Mukching did not stand by idly as she rendered her assistance as well, extinguishing multiple fire spirits with the sweep of her hand. Tianyan looked over at Lin Fan, feeling extremely disgruntled right now. Crying out loud, he put in even more efforts in killing these fire spirits. Looking at Tianyan who was riled up and frantically killing the fire spirits for him over just a single sentence, Lin Fan sniggered in his heart. Did this guy really think that he could play with yours truly with just that level of intellect? However, Lin Fan really did think that Tianyan was pretty cute as well. Seemed like all the living beings who were born in the ancient saint world itself were pretty cute. If it were someone who had ascended from the lower worlds, they would definitely not get so worked up over a single sentence of his. After all, most of them were crafty old foxes, who would not even bat a single eyelid while tricking someone to death. Damned living beings, how dare you guys kill our comrades? We'll have you dead. At this moment, a gigantic fire spirit, which was almost 1,000 feet tall, howled out wildly. The flames on his body rumbled continuously, eventually blazing into an armor of flames. N-O-V-E-N.C-Om. Roar. A maddened roar shook the entire world as he wielded an endless amount of scorching connate fire element in his palms. Fire spirit, your opponent shall be me. Angered to the brink of insanity by Lin Fan, Tianyan yelled out angrily at the fire spirit. Instantly, he threw out a flurry of palm strikes. Every single palm strike was bursting with power, endless and continuous. It was as though Tianyan was taking the fire spirit as Lin Fan. If this happened normally, Tianyan would probably have to expend quite a bit of effort to take down the fire spirit. However, it was as though Tianyan was on steroids right now, as he slapped the fire spirit to death. The moment the fire spirit dissipated, its connate fire element was absorbed by the Demon City instantly. After he killed a big bunch of fire spirits, Lin Fan turned his head around gently. Looking at how Tianyan killed that 1,000 feet tall fire spirit, he felt his heart beat a little faster as well. Was that guy on crack right now? But oh well, this was good as well. This would only serve to increase the rate of killing. Lin Fan slapped his storage. Instantly, all the Shenyang pills that he had cultivated in the time earlier were all shattered immediately. A gigantic true skill seed danced around in the Demon City. In the blink of an eye, thousands of palm strikes burst forth. As though it was on crack too, Demon City began to expand rapidly as the big ancient demon grew even more berserk. Rock's breath. The big ancient demon howled furiously as his eyes shone with a deadly gaze. Opening his mouth, he swallowed everything in his face. Unable to resist it, countless fire spirits found themselves being sucked into the mouth of the big ancient demon. What a terrifying man! Mukching, who had just killed a fire spirit, found her heart freezing up at this scene before her. This was way too horrific for her to watch. Demon God Wheel, Heaven and Earth Demon Door. Grabbing into the void with a vice-like grip, Lin Fan tore the void open wildly. A demonic aura surrounded the entire Heaven and Earth Demon Door as it appeared through the void with a loud thud. Suppress. Instantly, the Heaven and Earth Demon Door let out a boundless amount of demonic chi. One by one, figures of demon gods wielding weapons with all of their arms charged out. Just like the black-white impermanence, they started grabbing the fire spirits and tossing them into the demon city. Emptiness Sword Will. Lin Fan was going all out right now as that emptiness sword will filled the entire sky, tearing the void apart like it was a piece of white paper. A dense amount of tightly packed emptiness sword wills pierced their way through the fire spirits. Pishu, Pishu. In the blink of an eye, there was not even a single living being left in the sea of flames. Is this a man or a god? Looking at that mighty Lin Fan, Tianyan could not help but feel his mind shudder. He had only killed several hundreds of them after all the painstaking efforts. To think that this man could be this terrifying to sweep all of them out with the flip of his hand. Compared to Lin Fan, Tianyan realized that he was truly way too far away from him. Following Lin Fan's explosively intensive killing, Demon City shone brightly with a yellow, blue, and red shade. The brilliance of these three beams of light shone through the world, piercing through the heavens immediately. Conate Fire Element, Congeal. Fire Element River. Lin Fan hollered out as all his power surged forth as well, assisting the Demon City in cultivating the Fire Element River. Within that sea of flames, an altar of a fire god stood upright in the middle. Without any hesitation, Lin Fan seized at it immediately. Like sword wills of their own, Lin Fan's 5 fingers sliced through everything. Any fire spirit that wanted to defend their fire god altar were decimated instantly. Tossing the fire god country into his demon city, the fire element river started jerking furiously. All of the fire spirits who had just lost their country howled out madly, leaping at the demon city, wanting to seize back their fire god country. HMPH. Throwing yourselves at death's door. Saving me some effort, EH. Seeing this, Lin Fan was obviously elated. Since they wanted to toss themselves right in, he would naturally accept their deaths. Bam! The big ancient demon yelled out as that colossal body of his was suddenly filled with an endless amount of flames. These flames possessed a will of their own, containing an indefinite amount of power within them. Instantly, a gigantic river descended from the sky, pouring down onto the body of the big ancient demon. However, the flames were not extinguished because of it. Instead, it began to fuse with the water, causing a frightening glow to burst forth. To think that such a change would happen after congealing the conate fire element. Lin Fan was stunned on witnessing the scene before him. Lin Fan, your treasure is evolving. Hurry up and cultivate it. At this moment, Fairy Hongyun's reminder rang through. Alright, Lin Fan was still in a state of astonishment. He had not expected a level up to take place. In that instant, the conate earth, water and fire element began to coil around one another before, shrinking into a compressed ball of liquid that was only the size of a fist. The shape of the liquid ball was changing rapidly before turning into physical words. Earth, water, fire. These 3 words that were shining with a mysterious glow began to revolve around the body of the big ancient demon. Then, they flew into the demon city. Just like brandings, they were etched in 3 directions. Instantly, it was as though the power level of the big ancient demon was seated on a rocket that was bursting forth to the moon. Desolate Celestial Upper Level. Desolate Celestial Full Cultivation State. Divine Celestial Level 1, True State. Ding. Congratulations. Demon City has evolved into a middle-grade Dao weapon. Chapter 566. Trying to steal my bound equipment. Chapter 566. Trying to steal my bound equipment. What a beast. At this moment, Lin Fan was starting to realize that his life was barely even comparable to that of a treasure. On his own, he was taking such a long time to raise his cultivation states. However, the demon city was skyrocketing under his own cultivation and grooming. Just as if it were riding on a rocket, there it went. Pew, pew, just like that, it surpassed a few cultivation states. However, Lin Fan understood as well that the bloodline of the big ancient demon played a big part in all of this as well. The big ancient demon could be considered as the one and only king of all the ancient beasts. In order for him to rise as the ruler of all the ancient beasts, his bloodline must have been something that no one could compare with. However, the only regret right now was that the big ancient demon had fallen in the Xuanwang world. In order to revive itself, it used its demon bloodline as a bait to deceive the strain of consciousness from Xuanwang world's consciousness into forming an embodiment herself. Even though the bloodline had dispersed, the big ancient demon was the royalty of all ancient beasts. Even if his bloodline dried up entirely, he could regenerate it afresh given enough time. Therefore, everything that Lin Fan was doing right now was to regenerate the bloodline of the big ancient demon, so that he could regain his past glory as that unparalleled powerful being who had ruled over all ancient times. When that time came, Lin Fan would pull the Ancient One into this world as well. With that, he would definitely have the confidence of going into a bloodbath against the 8 utmost beings of the ancient race. It's a Dao weapon. Tianyan could not hide his envious gaze towards Demon City, which was floating in the sky. For all the living beings of the thousands of races in the ancient saint world, a single Dao weapon was something that was extremely difficult to obtain. In fact, some of them may not even possess a single one in their entire lives. Even though the Cloud sect had was grand and strong, if one wanted a single Dao weapon, they would have to pay a large price for it. In fact, that price might even be a lifetime of poverty. This Dao weapon is indeed of the highest caliber. Even a top-tier weaponsmith may not be able to craft out something like this. Looking at the Demon City, Han Yun gasped. Han Yun, you've got some knowledge about weapon crafting as well? Lin Fan asked smilingly. Yep, I learned a little about the ways of weapon crafting from a weaponsmith within our sect. Han Yun replied. Weaponsmith. The moment Lin Fan heard this, he was a little stunned. Wasn't it said that the beings of the thousands of races couldn't craft weapons of their own? How would there be weaponsmiths then? With this, Lin Fan was somewhat confused. Han Yun gave off a mysterious smile. Actually, it's true that the beings of the thousands of races out there aren't able to craft weapons on their own. However, our sect has managed to capture an ancient race being who knew how to craft weapons. Using a mysterious controlling technique, we had managed to keep him in the sect for the sole purpose of crafting weapons for us. Lin Fan nodded his head, feeling a little astonished in his heart. Indeed, the beings of the thousands of races possessed an incredible amount of wisdom in their actions. Since they could not craft weapons on their own, they would then kidnap ancient race beings who could. With that, they could tamper with their heads and brainwash them into crafting weapons for the sects. At the same time, Lin Fan was filled with a deep curiosity towards this controlling technique. However, didn't this technique seem somewhat vile? It was definitely inferior compared to that Thunder Trainer King of his. Way too inferior. Brother Tianyan, my gratitude for your kind assistance in killing those fire spirits earlier on. Evidently, those fire spirits are far from your match once you showcase your explosive strength. Clapping Tianyan on the back of shoulders, Lin Fan chuckled. Tianyan snorted coldly and rolled his eyes back. It was as though he was implying, did you see that? How dare you insinuate me as a burden? Ha ha, to think that these little kiddos would possess a Dao weapon as well. Seems like the heavens are blessing this old man here. Just then, a dark and sinister voice boomed out from the void. Suddenly, a blood-red titanic arm reached out through the void and grabbed at Demon City. Lin Fan, hurry up and retrieve your Dao weapon. It's the infinite bad old master. The moment Han Yun caught sight of this blood-red arm, her face froze up immediately. Through the frantic gaze of Fairy Han Yun's eyes, one could tell of her fear towards this infinite bad old master. Oh ho, to think that a young little brat would know of my mighty name, the great infinite bad old master. Not bad, not bad. Once I'm done reaping in this Dao weapon, I'll definitely take note to have a good taste of your little bratty blood. This sinister voice permeated through the void, such that one couldn't predict its direction at all. As for that gigantic blood-red arm, all 5 fingers were extremely thick and rough. On the fingertips were long, thin, and razor-sharp nails. It was as if anyone who was scratched by these blade-like nails would find themselves ripped into shreds instantly. Infinite bad old master. The moment Tianyan and Mukching heard the name, they shuddered momentarily. It seemed as though they had just recalled something utterly horrifying. Bloody brain-dead FCK. Steal my Dao weapon, I can even give it to you, that's if you can lift it up. Lin Fan did not know what sort of a being this infinite bad old master was. However, since he wanted the Dao weapon of yours truly, then yours truly shall give it to him. What are you trying to do? Fairy Han Yun's expression was changing, unable to comprehend Lin Fan's actions at all. Ha ha, not bad, not bad. On account that you're willing to hand over your Dao weapon obediently, this old master right here shall ensure that you have a quick and painless death later on. Evidently, Infinite Bad Old Master had not expected this fella to hand over his Dao weapon just like that, and was elated right now. This was a Dao weapon. A Dao weapon was something that everyone in this world would lust over. However, the moment that gigantic blood-red arm of the Infinite Bad Old Master reached out to grab at the Demon City, something horrifying happened. That blood-red arm which was dragging the Demon City was suddenly pushed downwards and was torn apart continuously. It was as though something was pressing down on it. It seemed like the Demon City possessed the strength of a stampede of bulls, entirely unstoppable. How could this be? The Infinite Bad Old Master yelled out in shock. He could not believe that this gigantic blood arm of his, which had helped him reign over the world, couldn't take down a single Dao weapon. Lin Fan laughed coldly. Anything that was crafted out from the system belonged to him and him only. If anyone else tried getting their hands on it, they would definitely never ever succeed. This could all be summarized into a single saying: how dare you try to snatch a bound weapon? Are you bloody mentally handicapped? Screech, screech, N-O, vel, B, in .c, ohm. In a split second, this gigantic blood-red arm transformed into a multitude of blood-colored bats. These bats were pretty large, extending up to dozens of feet in size the moment they spread their wings. With these many blood-colored bats lining the void, every single last inch of the sky was covered entirely. This is an old demon who had ascended up from the bat world. He is vicious in his methods and specializes in sucking one's essence blood in order to raise his own cultivation state. He is pretty notorious within the ancient saint world as well, Fairy Hongyun explained nervously. This Infinite Bad Old Master is a tricky old devil to deal with, akin to fighting against an immortal being. As long as the blood bats exist, he would be able to reincarnate indefinitely. A long time ago, our sect exchanged blows with him as well. However, he managed to escape even after he was surrounded by our elders. This guy is really full of tricks. HMPH. Even though I do not know what sort of secret technique you're using, if you dare to hurt my blood bats, this old man here would definitely suck your blood dry. Instantly, the void rippled as a stark red figure stood upright in the sky. This figure had a head of long, blood-colored hair, with bloody eyes. His face was frightfully pale with extremely sharp teeth, looking every single bit like a demon. At this moment, the Infinite Bad Old Master was holding on to 3 ancient race beings. Immediately, he tossed all of them over to his blood bats. Screech, screech, all of the bats swarmed over and covered the bodies of the 3 ancient race beings instantly. By the time the bats were done with them and left, there was nothing left but 3 dried-up corpses of ancient race beings, without a single trace of blood from head to toe. At the same time, the blood bats were filled with a luscious and sinister glow after sucking the fresh blood of the ancient race beings. Noticing the cultivation state of the Infinite Bad Old Master, Lin Fan frowned. Things were going to get sticky. Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise State. This was the first time he was meeting someone who could transform an entire realm into a state of paradise. Time to run. Lin Fan did not wish to take the risk. This was especially the case given that he had a bunch of burdens with him. In fact, Tianyan and Mukching were already frozen solid just by the name of the Infinite Bad Old Master itself. After all, it was a well-known fact that anyone who was caught in the hands of the Infinite Bad Old Master would definitely suffer an extremely terrible death. Chapter 567. Today, I'll take you on. Chapter 567. Today, I'll take you on. Infinite Bad Old Master was pretty taken aback right now. To think that he couldn't take down that Dao weapon. This was way too unimaginable. Given his current cultivation state, even if it were an entire mountain, he would be able to lift it up with a single claw-like grab. He was absolutely determined to get this Dao weapon. He wouldn't give up just like this. November LBJNN. A Dao weapon was something that was extremely hard to come across. Even after all his time in the ancient saint world, he hadn't seized even a single Dao weapon from anyone till now. Lad, even though this old man here doesn't know what sort of secret tricks you've been using, I'll have you know that anything this old man takes an eye on, he shall get it for sure. If you do not wish for your death to be worse than it should be, you should surrender now and hand over that Dao weapon of mine obediently. Infinite Bad Old Master looked at Lin Fan and the others with a look of belittlement. That swarm of huge blood bats flapped their wings open while screeching. Their bloodthirsty look caused Tianyan and the others to rattle within their hearts, unable to hide the look of fear on their faces. Even though the Infinite Bad Old Master wasn't exactly an earth-shattering existence, his methods were extremely cruel and vicious. In fact, even a powerful being who was of a higher cultivation state than the Infinite Bad Old Master might find himself dead against him in a moment of carelessness. With that, every single last drop of blood of his would be sucked dry, while his essence and soul would disintegrate entirely. One must never underestimate this old man at all. At the same time, Tianyan and the others were utterly exasperated. If it were any other powerful being of the paradise state, they might even have a chance of escaping. But, to think that the one they would bump into is a sicko like the infinite bad old master. At this moment, Tianyan and Mukching turned their gazes over to Lin Fan. It seemed like Lin Fan was the pillar of support in their hearts right now, as they entrusted every single last bit of hope onto him. Infinite bad old master. Taking a step forward, a ferocious aura burst forth from Lin Fan, suppressing every single blood bat in the vicinity. Even though these blood bats did not have a high cultivation state, they had their advantage in terms of numbers. That's right, that's this old man right here. Lad, hand over that Dao weapon, and this old man might be able to find that little bit of benevolence in his heart to spare the lives of you peasants. Infinite bad old master replied. That edged nose of his gave a gentle sniff, able to sense the core of every single last living being in this world. Even though I've got to say that the human bloodline that's rumbling inside you with such vivacious energy will make for a lovely delicacy. This old man here would rear a living being such as yourself within my paradise. Every single day, I would suck out a little bit of your blood, ensuring that you live a lifetime of utter torment. However, if you were to hand over that Dao weapon in your hands, this old man here can vouch that your life will not come to harm. Right now, the infinite bad old master's mind was on getting his hands on that Dao weapon entirely. The reason why he had followed the Cloud sect into this secret ground was to get a good reaping, of course. To think that he would bump into a few disciples who had been isolated. And, to think that one of them even had a Dao weapon. For the infinite bad old master, this was a sign of his own lucky encounters coming into play. The Cloud sect was a force to behold. In fact, they were a sect that could even hold their own against the ancient race somewhat in the ancient saint world. Within the sect, there were tons of powerful beings to be found from all sorts of different races. Every single genius of every race out there was recruited in by the Cloud sect. Because of this, even the infinite bad old master was taking his steps warily, not daring to go head on against the Cloud sect just like that. In the past, he had once sucked a disciple of the Cloud sect dry. For that, he was hunted down by several elders of the Cloud sect for a couple of days. Eventually, he was killed by one of the elders with just a single move. If not for the fact that one of his blood bats had barely managed to escape death and survive somewhere, he would have long disappeared from this world entirely. Even though you can swear that you wouldn't kill us, you'd definitely use your blood bats to just suck our essence and soul dry entirely. Do you take us for 3-year-old fools? Lin Fan scoffed coldly. HMPH. I gave you guys a path to life. Since you guys do not know how to cherish it, this old man here shall take every single one of your lives before seizing this Dao weapon for myself. At this moment, the infinite bad old master was angered. A tremendous aura emanated out from his body. It gushed over like fierce tidal waves, bent on swallowing Lin Fan whole. I'll cover while you guys make your escape. I'll look for you guys again once I get rid of this infinite bad old master. At this moment, Lin Fan wasn't fazed in the slightest as he slammed a punch out behind him. This single punch was boundless and devastating. Carrying with it Lin Fan's comprehension of the way of the fist, a figure of a fist god appeared, howling angrily. In a flash, tens of millions of punches rained down, scattering all the blood bats that were blocking their way previously. Take care of yourself. Fairy Hongyun understood that they couldn't possibly provide Lin Fan with any help given their current power level. In fact, they might even end up as burdens. Don't worry, these stinky bats are far from what it takes to kill me. Lin Fan replied. Looking at Lin Fan one last time, Tianyan cusped his fists together. Turning into a streak of light, the three of them left the place. The infinite bad old master did not stop them at all. After all, his target was Lin Fan. As long as Lin Fan was alive, it didn't matter whether or not those ants got to leave. Fairy Hongyun and the others traveled at a really fast speed. In a jiffy, they were out of the vicinity of infinite bad old master's blood bats. Junior sister, do you think he'll be alright? Tianyan asked, slightly worried. I've got no idea, but I doubt anything will happen to him. Fairy Hongyun couldn't reply with utmost confidence. Let us hurry up and seek out our elders and the others. If we can make it in time, we might even be able to return to help him with reinforcements. I guess that's the only way right now. ... At this moment, Lin Fan was in a standoff against the infinite bad old master. To the infinite bad old master, this fellow was already a piece of meat on the chopping board, readily available for grilling. Lad, not bad. Knowing that you can't defeat me, you sent them on their way away first. But, don't worry, once this old man here is done with you, they wouldn't be able to escape from my hands either. The infinite bad old master laughed coldly. Huh, what's up with all the crap you're spouting? Yours truly is here to test out just how capable that paradise of yours is. Lin Fan tossed his robes back, filled with a splendid fighting intent. It was time for him to test out just how far off he was from a divine celestial level 3, paradise state being. Know your place, HMPH. Bat God's Nest. Suddenly, the infinite bad old master struck out with a fist. With that, a series of blood-colored circles rippled out, with his fist as the core. Enjoy your lifetime of suffering in this old man's paradise. That Tao weapon of yours shall be taken by this old man here for sure. The infinite bad old master looked at that precious Tao weapon lustfully. The aura being emanated from the demon city was causing the infinite bad old master to feel exceptionally excited. This was especially the case for that thick, aromatic scent of the bloodline of that weapon spirit. Infinite bad old master could truly feel that if he were to be able to absorb even a little of that fresh blood, he would definitely be able to raise his paradise to the next level. Those blood-colored ripples expanded rapidly, and before Lin Fan knew it, he was encompassed within them. His surroundings were no longer bright, but stained blood red. Everything above him was blood red while pulsating continuously, as though it was a living piece of meat above him. However, Lin Fan knew clearly that those were the blood bats. This was the infinite bad old master's paradise. No matter the sort of living being it was, as long as they were trapped within this paradise, they would definitely find themselves sucked into a dried-up corpse by these blood bats. Lin Fan's favorite activity was to chop up monsters that were above his level. However, ever since he had become a divine celestial, he was starting to realize that every single state was a world of difference. If he wanted to kill monsters that were above his level like before, that would be way too difficult. However, one thing Lin Fan loved to do was to turn the impossible into a possible. So what if this was a divine celestial level 3, paradise state being? He wanted to use these very hands of his, along with the booster of the system of course, to suppress down every single last thing, and change every single impossible event into one that could happen. After all, he was someone who possessed a myriad of unparalleled skills that were leveled up and evolved, coupled with countless mythical items which possessed bug-like effects. This day here, he would go forth and have a good battle with this so-called divine celestial level 3, paradise state powerful being. Chapter 568. Forcing me to release my big move. Chapter 568. Forcing me to release my big move. Infinite bad old master, your acts of killing and snatching treasures from other people had nothing to do with me initially. However, to think that you would have the audacity to try and snatch my treasure. We'll just have to see if you've got the capabilities then. Lin Fan's body jerked a little as all his true skill seeds revolved around him in a circular motion. The figure of skill spirits stood above every single one of the true skill seeds. These skill spirits were born from the skills themselves. In a single motion, lightning flashed and the winds howled, destroying everything nearby. Suddenly, Lin Fan struck out with a flurry of fist strikes, turning them into a torrent of skills. The torrent consisted of the comprehension, wisdom, and truth of every single one of Lin Fan's skills. In fact, it even possessed many unknown truths of martial arts in itself. To think that a human such as yourself could possess capabilities as such. The moment this man from the human race struck with that formidable aura, infinite bad old master could feel slight tremors in his own paradise. At this moment, Lin Fan did not hold back at all. Combining his mental self and his spirit, he entered the ultimate state of martial arts. Every single fist, every single slap, every single sword will of his, each and every one of these raised his essence and soul to his peak status. Heaven-devouring bad god. With a shrill cry, the infinite bad old master's body burst forth with a beam of red light. The moment this beam burst forth, all of the blood bats within the paradise were attracted over to it instantly. Screech, screech, that infinite amount of blood bats started gathering together. Bam, 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 the blood bats began to self-destruct one by one, turning into a thick blood mist. However, the mist possessed some sort of consciousness within itself, merging together continuously. From within this mist came the repeated screeches of the blood bats. Finally, a gigantic king of blood bats, that was around tens of thousands of feet tall, floated gently at the top of the paradise. This was the bat god. Wielding a pair of bloodshot eyes, it glared at Lin Fan intently. That gigantic malevolent mouth of it looked ready to devour the entire world. Flapping its huge wings, a hurricane whirled towards Lin Fan instantly. HMPH. Seems like your cultivation state is only that of a divine celestial level 2, realm state being. How dare you pit yourself against this old man here with that sort of power? Today, this old master here shall make use of your fresh blood as tribute to the Bat God. The moment the infinite Bat Old Master struck out at Lin Fan, he had already discovered Lin Fan's cultivation state. Divine Celestial Level 2, even though he was rather strong, he was still far off compared to the infinite Bat Old Master himself. While this blood god nest wasn't a perfectly crafted paradise just yet, it wasn't something that a mere ant from the realm state could break through. However, the infinite Bat Old Master was suddenly stumped by something. The moment the Bat God within his paradise made contact with that skill torrent of this human, it began to screech out in anguish. How could this be? The infinite Bat Old Master roared in shock, evidently unable to believe everything before his very eyes right now. At this moment, Lin Fan entered a realm of his battle intent that could only be described as being more mysterious than mysterious. He couldn't be bothered with anything before his eyes at all. Slapping out hundreds of palms into the void, the demon city swiveled and danced in the air while the big ancient demon howled repeatedly. A titanic arm grabbed out in the direction of the Bat God. Even though this Bat God is just a culmination of the innumerable blood bats, it possesses a significant amount of power, given that it has already absorbed the blood of many powerful beings. The big ancient demon howled out wildly. Suddenly, as though the big ancient demon had awakened a gift within himself, a myriad of skills that Lin Fan had never known about were unleashed by it, repressing the Bat God. Damn it, there's only the old man here who's allowed to devour others. There has been no one else who could turn the tables on me. Noticing that the big ancient demon was trying to swallow up his paradise, the infinite Bat Old Master cried out in anger. Ancestors, bestow upon me the powers to call upon the descent of darkness into this world. Black Heaven's Bat Kings. In that instant, the infinite Bat Old Master squeezed 100,000 Shenyang pills to explosion as he sprayed out a mouthful of essence blood into the sky, scattering it around the paradise. November LBJNN. Absorbing this mysterious energy, the blood bats screeched wildly as they started changing as well. B-starred, you've completely riled up this old man over here. Right now, even if I have to exhaust the essence blood of my core, I shall have you killed right here. The infinite Bat Old Master had not expected this human to be so hard to deal with. At the same time, the infinite Bat Old Master was getting even thirstier towards the Tao weapon. In his eyes, this Tao weapon was simply way too strong. Smelly bat, I'll just have to see how many mouthfuls of essence blood you can spit out. I'm only afraid that you won't have enough essence blood to finish up. Lin Fan mocked with a cold laughter while maintaining his hand motions. These blood bats seemed to have undergone some sort of metamorphosis, as they grew ever larger than before. The violent nature within them seemed to be turning ever more berserk. Those originally blood-red bodies of theirs turned jet black, glimmering with a ghastly glow. At the same time, their bodies were lined with some sort of dense scales. These scales seemed like cores of some demonic being, emitting that eerie gleam all over them. The Bat God, which was initially on the losing end, turned the tables instantly. Flipping his body over, he was now the one suppressing the big ancient demon. Master, give me 5 million Shenyang pills. With that, I can crush this smelly bat to death with ease. The big ancient demon bellowed. Give your mother. At this point, Lin Fan was somewhat speechless. Now that he was entirely broke, this big ancient demon was demanding yet another 5 million. He didn't even have 500,000 to begin with. Flying heavens. In a flash, Lin Fan's body moved as he released the flying heavens. Within it, the Marquis of Despair and Long Zon dived right into the void, tunneling through it continuously. In the blink of an eye, a bright flash shone while they burst out of it, piercing through the Black Heavens Bat Kings one time after another. However, the Black Heavens Bat Kings were packed together densely. Killing all of them just like that was impossible. However, the moment the infinite Bat Old Master caught sight of flying heavens, he cried out with a loss of control over himself, to think that there's yet another Tao weapon. How could a mere human such as yourself possess such riches? Ha ha, the heavens are blessing me, the infinite Bat Old Master indeed. To think that this would be the day of reaping for the infinite Bat Old Master. The infinite Bat Old Master laughed out maniacally. His eyes were practically filled with cravings right now. In the eyes of the infinite Bat Old Master, Lin Fan was just a man with tons of treasures, but didn't have the befitting power that he should have. Zigwang, there's too many of these Black Heavens Bat Kings. We've got to think of a way to kill that Bat God. Master is simply way too poor. To think that he doesn't have any Shenyang pills with him at all. If there were some Shenyang pills available, I could definitely pierce through this paradise. Realm of Hope. Within the flying heavens, the Marquis of Despair Zigwang and Long Zan were leading a life of utmost bliss that anyone would envy. Due to that, the power of despair was now converted into the power of hope. At that moment, the flying heavens emitted a boundless white flash. Like a sharp blade, this white flash pierced itself through the black heavens Bat Kings. Screech, screech. The black heavens Bat Kings were screeching in pain, as though this aura was extremely repugnant to them. Unexpected. To think that this is a weapon spirit who had even comprehended the realm state. Just what sort of an ancient race being was it who had crafted a weapon such as this? This is beyond one's imaginations. The infinite Bat Old Master could not believe everything before his eyes right now. He could feel his mental spirit rattling at this moment. Shocking. This was way too shocking. It would be hard for anyone to swallow such facts. By now, Lin Fan was pretty displeased with the infinite Bat Old Master. That old man was just floating around in the sky without striking out at all. All he did was to control these bats to attack left and right. It was as though he was trying to expend all of Lin Fan's energy before coming in for the final blow. However, this paradise of the infinite Bat Old Master was simply way too cumbersome to deal with. It was as though the Black Heavens Bat Kings were infinite in number. Even after killing them, these Black Heavens Bat Kings were just respawning everywhere. If he couldn't come up with a plan to wipe out all of them, he might truly be exhausted to no ends. Damn it, you're really forcing me to release my big move. Lin Fan's eyes sparkled. He couldn't take this anymore. Since this was the case, so be it then. Yours truly shall take the time to have some fun with you. Chapter 569. The War Between a Man and Bat That's Intolerable to Witness. Chapter 569. The War Between a Man and Bat That's Intolerable to Witness. Punch of Bigra, Master. At a critical moment as such, obviously, I'm the most reliable one you can depend on. The moment Lin Fan unleashed his realm, a teenager draped in red dashed out. Looking shiftier and dodgier than any other thing in this world, every single bounce of his steps emitted a thick, white mist. Lin Fan was thoroughly exasperated with these skill spirits by now. Each and every one of them was cockier than the other. Being able to turn Bigra into a skill and infusing it into a realm thereafter wasn't something that Lin Fan had planned out from the start. However, by the looks of it, all of these were the system's credit. After all, the system possessed this function called fusion. Even though Lin Fan had rarely used it in the past, he realized that its potential was fully unleashed by the time he had cultivated out his realm thoroughly. Master is deploying Bigra now. It's time for us to run. Flying heavens pierced through all the Black Heavens Bat Kings in the sky. However, the moment they caught sight of that white mist permeating through the paradise, Zigwang and Long Zan both shouted out in panic. It was as though they were encountering something utterly horrifying, as they disappeared from the paradise instantly, reappearing by Lin Fan's side. Master, please don't cause any accidental injuries. The big ancient demon was tied in a locked struggle with the Bat God right now and didn't pay much attention to the mist. Looking at the thickening mist, the infinite Bat Old Master was filled with confusion as well, wondering just what in the world that was. Black Heavens Bat Kings, devour that mist. Now that victory was seemingly right before his very eyes, the infinite Bat Old Master did not wish for any mishaps to happen. Even though he did not know what the mist was, the Black Heavens Bat Kings were able to suck in everything within this world and turn them into nutrients for themselves. Screech, screech. The densely packed Black Heavens Bat Kings pounced over at this sky-encompassing thick mist before gulping it in mouthful after mouthful, without a single bit of hesitation. The spirit of Bigra was dumbfounded at the sight of these smelly bats taking in the Bigra so happily. It was as though he had never once expected that any living being would take in Bigra so willingly on their own. Looking at the gradually diminishing mist, the infinite Bat Old Master laughed wildly. Ha ha, what other moves have you got? Lay them all out. This old man here had only intended to get his hands on the Dao weapon at first. But by the looks of things right now, it seems like I've got to suck your mind dry and get hold of all of your knowledge. Even though your skills aren't anything much, I've got to admit that they're pretty interesting. The infinite Bat Old Master laughed out sinisterly. However, in that instant, the infinite Bat Old Master's laughter suddenly stopped as though someone was choking his neck. That grim and sinister face was beginning to flush bright red. You. The infinite Bat Old Master's gaze shone with fear as he stumbled backward, glaring at Lin Fan in utter shock. What the FCK's going on here? Don't tell me that this guy's affected by the Black Heavens Bat King sucking in the Bigra. Looking at the state the infinite Bat Old Master was in right now, Lin Fan was puzzled. But soon enough, Lin Fan understood. Naturally, all the essence and souls that the Black Heavens Bat Kings sucked in would definitely be transferred over to the infinite Bat Old Master. Now that these Black Heavens Bat Kings were lapping up the Bigra for free, the end result would be the transfer of Bigra to the infinite Bat Old Master. Bigra was a mystical godly object. No matter how strong one was, as long as one was to take it in, he or she would definitely know of a world worse than death. Screech, screech. Suddenly, the Black Heavens Bat Kings began to cry out as well. Eventually, they were diving at Lin Fan in swarms. However, at this moment, they were shaking left and right as though they were drunk. The red light in their eyes shone more brilliantly than ever before. Thud, thud, the fluttering of their wings was in a thorough state of confusion right now. However, the next thing that happened was absolutely astonishing for Lin Fan. These Black Heavens Bat Kings began to turn around and look at one another. These beings of the same breed that they had never ever bothered about in the past were looking ever so alluring right now. Holy FCK, this is utterly savage. Turning his head around, Lin Fan's face was totally helpless. This was simply way too beastly. How could they commit such an audacity? At this moment, the Bat God, which was suppressing down the big ancient demon, was going berserk as well. The big ancient demon shuddered for a moment. He had realized that the eyes of the Bat God were set ablaze suddenly, as though it had suddenly discovered something amazing. Big ancient demon, hurry up and return or you'll be in big trouble. Lin Fan shouted out to the big ancient demon. The big ancient demon looked at Lin Fan, then at the Bat God. Without any hesitation, he retreated back into the demon city immediately. The moment the big ancient demon withdrew into the demon city, the Bat God pounced on it as though it was ready to duke out a full 300 rounds with him. Sweeping his robes, Lin Fan kept the demon city in immediately. If the big ancient demon were to be attacked by the Bat God, he might end up losing his will to live. He might feel as though his body wasn't pure anymore if he were to be tainted by a bat. The moment the demon city disappeared, the Bat God turned his gaze to Lin Fan. Lin Fan felt his heart jerk for a moment. Something felt amiss. Stealth. Lin Fan knew that he must never exchange blows with anyone who had consumed Bigra. After all, any living being would definitely turn extremely shameless after taking in Bigra. One must definitely not look at them like normal beings. Arg, be starred, what in the world is this mist? The infinite Bat Old Master hollered. Within his heart, an unknown energy was rumbling furiously, as though it was bent on taking over his consciousness. At this moment, Lin Fan, who had entered stealth mode, remained entirely motionless and mute as he floated gently in the paradise. The infinite Bat Old Master was howling in a frenzy. Just as he was sensing the fact that he was about to lose all control to that unknown energy, he realized that the Black Heaven King Bats and the Bat God had him surrounded. All of these bloodshot eyes were fixated on the infinite Bat Old Master. Within these eyes, the infinite Bat Old Master could make out an endless amount of excitement. Adding on to his horror, he could make out something black and thick standing upright in the middle of the legs of the Black Heavens King Bats. They were like mountain peaks, standing extremely sturdy. What are you guys trying to do? The infinite Bat Old Master felt his anus tightening up as a feeling of dread filled his heart. Screech, screech. The reply that the infinite Bat Old Master got was a series of wild screeches coming from those Black Heavens King Bats that lined the entire sky. In their eyes, the infinite Bat Old Master was their favorite being in the entire world right now. Bat God's nest, infinite bats, disappear. Before the infinite Bat Old Master could finish his sentence, he was drowned by all those Black Heavens King Bats. As for the Bat God, he was just focusing on the bottoms of the infinite Bat Old Master. But of course, one should wonder what this bottom was referring to. Tragic cries were mixed with the screeches. What followed closely was appearance of the infinite Bat Old Master, who was entirely disoriented by the Bigra by now. The powers that were bursting forth from him right now were wilder than when he was trying to suppress Lin Fan, way stronger. With that ginormous hand, he caught hold of the Bat God. His red robes fluttered through the sky as his long hair danced as well. This cruel war between man and bat had begun. The paradise vibrated violently while a rain of blood was sprayed over the entire place. Lin Fan could not even bear to turn his head over. This is a spectacle way too horrible to endure. This massive war had gone way beyond Lin Fan's imagination. The spirit of Bigra crossed his arms and hugged both of his shoulders, smiling sheepishly. At this moment, it was as though he was completely satisfied with his doings. As for Ziguang and Long Zan, they were just staring with their jaws agape in utter shock. November LBJNN. Completely inhumane. Chapter 570, The Indignance of the Infinite Bat Old Master's Death. Chapter 570, The Indignance of the Infinite Bat Old Master's Death. The sovereign King Wei Fan had not expected things to turn out this way either. After all, how could such a savage scene exist within the confines of this world? This was an utter disgrace to public morals. However, this was a pretty pleasing scene for Lin Fan nevertheless. After all, the infinite Bad Old Master was a divine celestial level 3, paradise state being, whose powers were above him by quite a fair amount. However, all of that difference in strength was established within that paradise of his. The infinite Bad Old Master could be considered as an emperor who possessed a vast amount of land under his name. However, he did not have any soldiers of his own. On the contrary, Lin Fan was someone without that same amount of land, but with countless of soldiers under him. This was an intrinsic difference. If Lin Fan were to cultivate out his paradise state, he would be able to take down beings like the infinite Bad Old Master with the back of his palms. With that being said, now that the power that was unleashed by Bigra had already desecrated the assaults of the infinite Bad Old Master, the remaining task was extremely simple for Lin Fan. However, the sheer number of densely packed Black Heaven's Bat Kings were still a tricky thing to deal with. After all, if he didn't kill all of them entirely, he might attract some of their flack onto him. These Black Heaven's Bat Kings had already lost their mind under the influence of Bigra. The only thing in their heads right now was finding living beings to penetrate. If Hong Yun and the others were to catch sight of the infinite Bad Old Master's state right now, their eyeballs would definitely pop right out of their sockets. That terrifying and frightening infinite Bad Old Master was such a savage being. So savage that he wouldn't even let bats off. Lin Fan's initial plan was to use the flying heavens to penetrate through the infinite Bad Old Master while he was distracted. However, looking at the current pitiable expressions given off by Ziguang and Long Zan, Lin Fan could only sigh helplessly. Seemed like such a twisted scene could cause even weapon spirits to feel fear. However, Lin Fan suddenly recalled the words of Fairy Hong Yun. This infinite Bad Old Master was extremely difficult to kill. He wondered what sort of difficulty level that would be. True Origin's crushing kick. Stretching out his leg, the entire void trembled as his true skill seed churned. If he had to use his hands to take down this crazy amount of Black Heaven's Bat Kings, he wouldn't even know how long it would take to finish through them. Instantly, the paradise began to vibrate immensely, as those legs which were filled with True Origin slammed out towards the Black Heaven's Bat Kings. Damned human, I'll be sure to kill you and suck all of your essence and soul dry. I'll turn you into a dried-up corpse. The infinite Bad Old Master howled in anger. However, despite that enraged expression of his bodily actions betrayed his intents. At this moment, a Black Heaven's Bat King was caught in the hands of the infinite Bad Old Master, which he was using to play with himself mercilessly. Damn it, the infinite Bad Old Master was about to go crazy by now. He wanted to stop, however, his body wouldn't allow it. Infinite Bad Old Master, don't scream any longer. Just take the time to enjoy your deepest desires thoroughly and follow your heart to the peak of your life. Lin Fan was spouting bullshit with an absolutely straight face. True Origin's crushing kick was one of the 4 great evil skills in Lin Fan's arsenal. Even though these evil skills had yet to reach their peak cultivation states, their current strength was already heaven-defying enough. These were skills that were unique to Lin Fan. Within this entire world, he was the only who could deploy them. Bam, bam, a series of exploding sounds rang through the sky. Under the might of this kick, the Black Heaven's Bat Kings began to drop to the ground, spasming uncontrollably as they were sapped of every single bit of their fighting strength. They wanted to fly up once more, but they were tormented to the depth of their souls by that feeling of pain. Screech, screech, these shrill cries were sorrowful beyond anything else. If they could speak in human language, they would definitely be cursing out at Lin Fan right now. At this moment, the infinite Bad Old Master's figure finally appeared. Without any bit of hesitation, Lin Fan took out his eternal axe immediately. Destruction. The swing of that axe seemed to be cleaving through the entire heaven and earth, as a frightening axe flash tore through the paradise towards the infinite Bad Old Master. This was a formidable amount of force. There was no way this totally unprepared infinite Bad Old Master could resist it, as he was split into 2 instantly. Indeed, he is pretty hard to kill. Lin Fan frowned. Without hearing the notification from the system, he naturally knew that the infinite Bad Old Master wasn't dead just yet. You'll never kill me. Instantly, the infinite Bad Old Master howled out in anger, within this paradise, you can never, ever kill me. HMPH, there's no one in this world who can't die. Lin Fan snorted coldly. He would definitely not believe the words of the infinite Bad Old Master. After all, even now that he had mastered Blood Sea till its 9th level, rebirth through blood, he dared not claim that he would never ever die. How could a bloody infinite Bad Old Master claim the same? The brightness in Lin Fan's eyes expanded out. In a flash, he sent out thousands of punches that were accompanied with a myriad of skills. For Lin Fan, the art of combining skills together was something that he had mastered to an extremely proficient state. Nirvana finger. Lin Fan's long robes danced in the air as he floated gently in the void. Using his finger as a pointer, ripples flowed out one by one, causing the paradise to rip apart bit by bit. With that ripple, tens of millions of Black Heaven's Bat Kings were disintegrated instantly. The infinite Bat Old Master died countless times as well. However, he would resurrect before Lin Fan each time he died. B-starred, you'll never be able to kill this old man here. Even though I've got no idea what you've done to me, I can feel the effects of this weird thing that you've placed within me gradually dissipating. The moment this old man here can fully resist this power, I'll make sure you know of a fate worse than death. The infinite Bat Old Master was howling out with bloodshot eyes. Lin Fan lowered his head into contemplation. Was this infinite Bat Old Master truly unkillable? But that was impossible as well. There were no living beings in this world that couldn't be killed. In fact, even the Ancient One, who was one of the utmost beings, would definitely die one day as well. Therefore, the infinite Bat Old Master must definitely be depending on this paradise. Add some more ingredients for him. Lin Fan tossed out his hand and handed the matter over to the spirit of Bigra. Yes, Master. November LBJNN. By now, the Black Heaven's Bat Kings that were killed by the infinite Bat Old Master himself amounted to the hundreds. After all that endless releases that he was venting out, the Bigra within his body was gradually diminishing. Hey, smelly bat, don't look down on me. The spirit of Bigra giggled evilly. With that, a thick, dense mist floated up and spread out once again, covering the infinite Bat Old Master under his frightful cry. Master, I've realized that each time you kill the infinite Bat Old Master, hundreds of Black Heaven's Bat Kings would blow up. I'm suspecting that the reason behind his infinite resurrections should have something to do with these Black Heaven's Bat Kings. Long Zan, who had been observing the fight the entire time, suddenly spoke up. Oh, is that the case? Pointing out his finger, a single sword will held out, ripping the infinite Bat Old Master apart before turning its focus onto the paradise. Indeed, it was just as Long Zan had mentioned, the moment the infinite Bat Old Master died, hundreds of Black Heaven's Bat Kings would explode, turning into a blood mist and fusing within the paradise. Seems like this is the reason for your infinite resurrections. Now, the next time around, you may not be able to revive anymore. Lin Fan laughed. Damn it, the infinite Bat Old Master's face was extremely grim right now. To think that his trick would be exposed by this guy. Lin Fan did not want to say anything else. Wielding his eternal axe, he shut his eyes slightly as his essence, spirit, and vitality skyrocketed. His skills gathered, causing a brilliant light to shine upon his eternal axe. This light converted into a small spot, with all of the energy converging into it. The amount of power that it possessed right now was enough to shock just about anybody. Even though it might be unrealistic to say that I can break through your entire paradise, it would definitely be no issue for me to kill all of your Black Heaven's Bat Kings though. Lin Fan stepped forth. Wielding the eternal axe with both his hands, he cleaved down at the paradise with a force as though he was slamming down on the heaven and earth itself. No, the infinite Bat Old Master screamed out from the bottom of his heart. To think that he would fall in the hands of a single human. That unkillable and imperishable body of his. How in the world did it get seen through by a mere human? This wasn't something he could accept at all. The flash appeared. This was a cleave that possessed all the energy, spirit, and vitality of Lin Fan within it. Slicing through the void, nothing that the axe passed by continued to live post its appearance. Before they could even finish their shrieks, countless Black Heaven's Bat Kings found themselves turned into dust, before disappearing into the paradise. Bam! A gigantic vibration reverberated through the paradise. With that, all those uncountable Black Heaven's Bat Kings disappeared entirely, as the infinite Bat Old Master himself was cleaved into dust as well. Ding! Congratulations on killing infinite Bat Old Master. Ding! Experience points plus 200,000 feet. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining Paradise Shard. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining Infinite Bat's imperishable magic. This wasn't something that Lin Fan had expected. To think that the Infinite Bat Old Master would bring about such a fair amount of experience points along with a skill. The Paradise Shard of the Infinite Bat Old Master wasn't as resolute as that of the Sovereign King Wei's. Therefore, Lin Fan smelted this immediately and tossed it into his realm, allowing it to make up for the shortcomings of his own realm. This would allow it to turn sturdier and stronger, in order to pave the path forward for his paradise in the future. However, the Infinite Bat imperishable magic was giving Lin Fan some headaches right now. Master, if you were to let me learn this infinite bad imperishable magic, I would definitely turn stronger. The big ancient demon said. Lin Fan flipped through the infinite bad imperishable magic. This was an extremely dark skill. However, it was indeed pretty decent for the big ancient demon. Therefore, Lin Fan tossed it over to the big ancient demon and had him learn it for himself. Master, hurry up and create some Shengyang pills. Otherwise, our cultivation speeds are simply way too slow. The big ancient demon added on. The moment Lin Fan heard the words of the big ancient demon, he was rendered speechless immediately. FCK, he calls that cultivation speed slow. However, on second thought, Lin Fan could see the logic in the big ancient demon's words. It was true that things would be much easier with the presence of Shengyang pills. Even though this infinite bad old master was sticky to deal with, if he had an indefinite amount of Shengyang pills to expend, the paradise of this infinite bad old master would definitely be bursting wide open. But, it was a pity that it wasn't easy getting his hands on those Shengyang pills. Which powerful being would be dumb enough to hinder their own cultivation speeds, all for some Shengyang pills? Chapter 571, Skyrocketing Tension. Chapter 571, Skyrocketing Tension. Seems like the Fire-Water Secret Grounds is going through some unrest right now. Lin Fan focused his gaze into the distance. He could sense some disturbance up ahead, as a series of auras pierced their way into the void. Furthermore, it didn't seem as though the clashes were happening on a single spot. Fights were breaking out in all directions. The Fire-Water Secret Grounds were unestablished secret grounds. Evidently, they were in the sights of coveters. However, in a place like this, no matter how many treasures there would definitely be more people grabbing and fighting over them. They would definitely not be enough for everyone. As such, with the dangers lurking around them, they would have to watch their backs. With that, Lin Fan chased in the direction where Fairy Hongyun and her sect members had headed off to. After Lin Fan's departure, the void trembled. At the spot where Lin Fan was moments earlier, a few men appeared out of nowhere. One of them frowned and tore a hole in the void with a curl of his finger like a mountain. The infinite bad old master has been slain. Who in the world would have the capabilities to do so? The man's expression changed to one of a slight bewilderment. While the actual powers of the infinite bad old master weren't all that strong, his paradise was utterly mysterious and strange. It was extremely difficult to kill someone like him. Brother Luo, there's no lack of wealth to be found in this Fire-Water Secret Grounds. The infinite bad old master was a greedy person who knew no bounds. It wouldn't be that much of a surprise for him to bump into someone tough and get himself killed in reverse. Another man looked really frosty. His gaze was split into yin and yang, with the yin-yang chi swirling within his eyes. It was as though he could reverse the heaven and earth, changing all of the worlds upside down. The Fire-Water Emperor was a powerful being of the old ancient times. His lifetime's worth of fortune must definitely be astounding. Amidst it, the most valuable item is the true essence of water and fire. If one can obtain the true essence of water and fire, they can inherit the legacy of the Fire-Water Emperor. We mustn't linger around here, lest someone else snatches it away. A man who was holding on to a hand fan commented. This man's disposition was graceful. However, a strong killing intent emitted from him from time to time, which was pretty obscure. Despite that, the single strain of killing intent that was sensed from time to time could rattle one's spirits, and have them delve entirely into the power of that endless killing will. Life-stealing scholar, the three of us have already agreed that we would walk this path together as comrades. Our encounters shall depend on our fates from the heavens itself. Whoever dares to backstab anybody shall be shown no mercy from the rest of us. Luo Yi gave a grave reminder. That's for sure. All right then, let us hurry on our way. This time around, there are quite a number of elders from the Cloud sect who have come along. Their powers must be pretty decent. Things should get a little tricky. Let us make sure to take care. The man with the black and white eyes smiled indifferently. At this moment, Lin Fan was observing the situation in the Fire-Water Secret Grounds keenly. The deeper he delved into this place, the more he was realizing how complex this Fire-Water Emperor was. To think that the heaven and earth spirit chi within this dimension that he had opened up would be this dense and thick. In fact, it was even comparable to that of the ancient saint world itself. Furthermore, the surroundings were all filled with spirit herbs. Even though some of their levels weren't all that high, they were still pretty useful for Lin Fan. Along his way, Lin Fan had collected all the spirit herbs he had come across. Perhaps these might be items that others might not take a liking to. However, a grand master of cultivating pills such as Lin Fan could create elixirs out of any single spirit herb that no one else would even bother with. Lin Fan looked ahead into the distance and spotted Fairy Hongyun, Tianyan and Mukching standing together. Near them were a group of people, who were standing still at their spots as well. Everyone, watch out, someone's coming. Suddenly, a man within the group felt some vibrations through the void around him. His face changed immediately as he threw out those words of caution. To think that someone could remain hidden while avoiding their detection. They could only sense the might of the vibrations from the voids upon their arrival. The disciples of the Cloud sect felt their mental states shuddering fiercely while their faces changed. Ever since they had entered this place, they were separated from their elders. Within this fire-water secret grounds, they had to tread with extreme caution, lest they met with any powerful beings. The moment Fairy Hongyun caught sight of who it was, her face changed into one of elation as she hurried forth, "Everyone, relax. He's my friend." The moment the masses heard the words of Fairy Hongyun, they heaved a sigh of relief as well. The moment Tianyan and Mukching caught sight of Lin Fan, their hearts skipped a beat in happiness as well. Even though this man was pretty close to his junior sister, Tianyan could tell that he was not a bad person. Also, he didn't seem so irksome anymore. Therefore, the grudges that Tianyan bore towards Lin Fan earlier on had disappeared by now. "Are you all right?" Fairy Hongyun had not expected Lin Fan to arrive this quickly. She had only just met up with her fellow sect members. "Yup, I'm all right. Even though the infinite bad old master was a little tricky, it's all over now." Lin Fan replied before sweeping his gaze at the group of people around him. All of their auras were different, as they varied in race. However, their cultivation states were pretty decent. Some of them were divine celestials, while others were desolate celestials. However, if these people were to bump into someone like the infinite bad old master with their current cultivation states, they would definitely not be of any match for him. "The infinite bad old master is dead." Hongyun was stunned, somewhat in disbelief. "Yes. He has already been killed by me. Even though the methods of the infinite bad old master were somewhat strange, he treads on the path of evil." Lin Fan replied casually. Even though the infinite bad old master was of the paradise state, his actual powers weren't all that fearsome. The only thing fearsome about him was that ability of his to resurrect indefinitely. However, after Lin Fan had seen through his tricks, he was only worth that much at the end of the day. Fairy Hongyun could feel her heart pounding right now. To think that he would be able to kill the infinite bad old master, whom even the elders of her sect couldn't kill. His methods and powers were utterly shocking. But of course, Lin Fan's powers right now couldn't be compared to those of the Cloud sect elders. After all, those elders had not managed to unveil the tricks of the infinite bad old master, and that was all. They did not know of the fact that he was able to resurrect himself with the Black Heaven's Bat Kings even after they had killed him. However, that one encounter had the infinite bad old master injured severely as well. All the Black Heaven's Bat Kings within the paradise were slaughtered cleanly by the elders of the Cloud sect. In the end, it was only one single Black Heaven's Bat King who had managed to escape unscathed. The infinite bad old master had only managed to regain his strength after recuperating for a few years. "Hongyun, this friend of yours is..." Now that they were separated from their elders, the current leader of this group of Cloud sect disciples was a senior brother of hers. The moment he caught sight of Lin Fan, his eyes shone with one of disdain. "This man here is the pride of the human race, Lin Fan. Back when I was being hunted down by the Evil Alliance, he was the one who had saved me. Earlier on when we bumped into the infinite bad old master, he was also the one who had paved the way for my escape together with senior brother and sister. I was the one who invited him with me into the opening of the fire-water secret grounds." Fairy Hongyun explained. "Lin Fan, this is my senior brother here, Fang Weifang." "Senior brother Fang." Fairy Hongyun gave Lin Fan an introduction as well. "My pleasure." Since this was one of Hongyun's senior brothers, Lin Fan was naturally courteous and polite with his replies. Fang Weifang cast a single glance at Lin Fan before turning his eyes onto Fairy Hongyun. "The fire-water secret grounds is an extremely important place. How could you bring someone in without even knowing of their background? The difference between a good and a bad person isn't something you can tell with your naked eyes. N.O.V.L.P. Lin Fan's brows creased, somewhat displeased. Did this guy have a mental problem? Yours truly had not offended him in any way at all. Why the hell was there so much tension at their first meeting? "Senior brother, Brother Lin here has saved my life. Furthermore, he took down the infinite bad old master as well. We would definitely be more secure with Brother Lin around." Tianyan stood up for Lin Fan. "Such big words. Secure with him around. Tianyan, you're getting bold now, aren't you? Making decisions all on your own. How dare you disregard the words of senior brother Fang? Suddenly, one of the disciples who were standing beside Fang Weifeng stood out to lecture Tianyan. Senior brother Weishan, that is not my intention. Tianyan replied. That's enough. Even our elders could not kill off the infinite bad old master, and you're saying that this guy has the capabilities to do so. Who knows if he had let you guys leave earlier on so that he could plot in secret with the infinite bad old master. Weishan's reply was extremely overbearing as he stood tall. Senior brother Wei, how could you be so accusatory? Tianyan rebutted. Impudent, utterly disrespectful of your seniors. Weishan's face turned cold instantly as he struck out in a flash. All the while, Fang Weifeng stood still with an indifferent look. He did not intend to step in to stop this fiasco. Evidently, this was also a demonstration of strength to Lin Fan. It was to show the latter who the true leader around here was. Chapter 572, Conflict. Chapter 572, Conflict. Lin Fan had not expected things to turn out this way. Where was the promised lovingness and doting between siblings? Why were the sect members fighting all of a sudden because of a single disagreement? All Tianyan did was refute a single sentence of his, and he should be punished. How bloody overbearing was that? Weishan stretched out his arm in a claw-like grip. Locking in his aura, he grabbed at Tianyan. Senior brother Wei, stop. Looking at how Weishan was not holding back at all, Han Yun's face changed as well. The void-ripping claw was something that could tear even the heavens apart, let alone the meat and flesh body of Tianyan. The moment Tianyan caught sight of this, he was rattled. He knew that his senior brother was merely making use of him as a tool to display his might. However, the Cloud sect had a strict hierarchy of seniority. Tianyan did not dare to retaliate at all. Even if he did, he wouldn't be a match for his senior brother Wei. In a flash, Tianyan realized that a figure was standing right before him, shielding him from harm's way. The moment Weishan saw this human acting as a shield, he sneered coldly in his heart as well. He increased the amount of strength to his arm, causing all 5 of his fingers to glow with a sharp gleam. Clawing down at the shoulders of Lin Fan, he was bent on gutting this man. Shing! A crisp, clean sound rang out. However, this wasn't the sound of Lin Fan's shoulders being destroyed. The moment Weishan's fingers made contact with Lin Fan's shoulders, all 5 fingers of his began to contort, as though they were met with some sort of force. A sword will shot out of Lin Fan's shoulders, embedding itself in the arms of Weishan. Fresh blood spilled everywhere, spraying into the skies. Arg! A shrill cry rang out as Weishan stumbled backward repeatedly. As though it was pierced by an infinite number of swords, blood holes began to appear on his arms. Fresh blood oozed and gushed out of these holes. Weishan looked at Lin Fan in anger. However, the terrible pain caused him to cry out once more. That undispelled sword will remain within his arm. Brother Tianyan is your junior brother. Of course, it's in your right to discipline him as a senior brother. However, brother Tianyan is my friend. If you dare to bully my friend before me, you're evidently disregarding the presence of me, Lin Fan. This was only a small little lesson for you this time around. If you dare to act so brazenly, I'll have that arm of yours severed entirely. Lin Fan replied imposingly. The flames of rage burned in the Weishan's heart. To think that this man would dare to strike out at him and injure his arm as well. However, he was clear of the difference between them. In front of so many of his other sect members, how could Weishan afford to lose his face right here? You bloody human of unknown background and origins. How dare you mix yourself within the midst of the Cloud sect? This guy must definitely have some motives behind him. Everyone, we've got to take him down. Weishan hollered. Halt! Han Yun placed herself in between the both of them, senior brother Wei. Right now, we're within the Fire-Water secret grounds. It wouldn't be a wise move to cause any internal strife between us. Junior sister Han Yun, I take it that you're on the side of this human then, Weishan's rage was impossible to quell right now. How could he bear to let it go just like this? So what if big senior brother Laohan takes a liking to you? If you do not step away right now, you better not blame me for disregarding our ties as fellow sect members. Weishan, what has this got to do with senior brother Liao and me? The way you do not distinguish between right or wrong won't be spared if the elders catch wind of this. Han Yun replied. Junior brother Wei, stand back. At this moment, Fang Weifeng stood forth. His aura was austere like a lofty mountain, great and boundless. Senior brother, Weishan was indignant. He wanted to get back his pride. Stand back. Fang Weifeng's tone was still calm like the still waters. However, Weishan could tell that if he did not stand back as ordered, he would truly incur the wrath of his senior brother. Senior brother Fang, I implore for you to make a decision on this matter. Please let everything go and let us work together to survive in this firewater secret grounds. Fairy Hongyun requested. Fang Weifeng's expression was grim and impossible to tell. Junior sister Hongyun, you stand back too. Senior brother. Noticing the look on her senior brother's face, Fairy Hongyun could tell that something bad was about to happen. Stand back. With a maddened holler from Fang Weifeng, an invisible sonic boom blew Fairy Hongyun away immediately. This was an extremely overbearing move. Looking at the situation before him, Lin Fan knew that there could definitely be no peaceful resolution to this. However, the thing that exasperated him was the fact that even though he had done nothing wrong, he was getting bullied by others time and again. Seemed like the kind truly did get taken advantage of. If he had appeared in this place with his unparalleled and formidable aura from the start, things might be entirely different right now. Brother Lin, you've got to watch out. Senior brother Fang is really strong. Standing behind Lin Fan, Tianyan whispered softly. At the same time, his heart was bubbling with indignance. So what if they were of the same sect? Everything should be determined by true strength. Lin Fan nodded his head before stepping forth. He glared at Fang Weifeng straight in the eye. Since you want to have a go at it, we'll have a go at it. I, Lin Fan, have truly never felt much fear for others, ever. HMPH. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Of course, there's nothing for junior brother Wei to hold against given that his strength is weaker than yours. However, for an outsider like you to step in junior brother Wei's disciplining of a junior. Evidently, you don't hold much regard for the Cloud sect. Since that's the case, I shall see just what sort of capabilities you've got for you to strike out as such. Fang Weifeng's tone was extremely domineering. Lin Fan, don't be rash. Fairy Hongyun hurried over and stood before Lin Fan, attempting to hold him back. Channeling his aura outwards, Lin Fan used the force to push Fairy Hongyun to one side as well. This is no longer of your concern. Just stay there and watch the show properly. Well, it's good that my hands are starting to feel itchy as well. I've got to check out for myself just what sort of capabilities disciples of the Cloud sect possess. Time to see if you guys should have the rights to even remain alive within this firewater secret grounds. Lin Fan was afraid of nothing from the heavens down to hell. So, why would he be afraid of a trash like this then? Since this guy did not care for niceties and manners, insisting for Lin Fan to show his strength, then this guy was just asking for it. All the surrounding disciples were rooted right now in shock as well. They had not expected things to turn out like this. November LBJNN. However, now that senior brother Fang was the one who had stepped into this affair, there was no room for them to interfere at all. Now that things had come to this, Fairy Hongyun did not have any way of resolving this either. She couldn't help but retreat a few steps back, keeping the worries within her heart to herself. To fight with one another in a place as such, no matter which side wound up being injured, it would be a disaster. Lin Fan, please show some mercy. Fairy Hongyun knew how strong Lin Fan was. If Lin Fan were to kill senior brother Fang, things would really be blown out of proportion. By then, no matter how much tact she had, she would not be able to mediate the Cloud sect out of sparing Lin Fan. Relax, I know my limits. To think that a mere trash as such would dare to challenge my authority. If I don't give him some taste of my strength, he would really think that there's no one out there in this world who could take him in hand. He needs to know that there's always someone stronger than you out there. Lin Fan scorned in disdain. Big words. How dare you call me a trash? No matter who steps in today, they wouldn't be able to save your dog life. Fang Weifeng's eyes were thoroughly incensed right now, all prepared to kill his opponent. Lin Fan's lips curled coldly. Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State. This was someone that wasn't even comparable to the infinite bad old master. And yet, how dare he act so brazenly before Lin Fan? He was simply just courting his own death. Go to hell. With a frenzied roar, Fang Weifeng deployed every single one of his moves as he bolted forth. His robes danced like a flag in a gust, flapping noisily. In a single strike, his body flashed. His skills gathered together like a current, converging within his palms. The crackling sound of his palm was sharp, as it slammed out towards Lin Fan. Instantly, Fang Weifeng changed into many different forms. The surrounding area was filled with his figures. Amidst illusion and reality, falsehood and truth, one could not identify the real body of Fang Weifeng at all. By now, all the surrounding disciples could not help but break out into cold sweat as the tension rose significantly. They did not know how things would eventually turn out. Chapter 573, Fainting from Spraying Blood. Chapter 573, Fainting from Spraying Blood. This is the Cloud Summit movement, the utmost movement technique of our Cloud sect. It is said that if one were to cultivate it up to its highest state, their movements would follow that of the clouds, formless and fluid. They could change up their bodies into all sorts of states, where one could not distinguish between reality and illusion any longer. Senior Brother Fang's temperament had always been on the fiery side. Why the hell wouldn't this human just give in to him? If he could tolerate for just that bit, things would not escalate as such. Senior Brother Fang has already cultivated his realm to a state where he could control it with just the whim of his mind. He is practically just that step away from being a paradise state being right now. This human is in for it right now. That palm strike of Senior Brother Fang is way too formidable. The power of that is definitely beyond that of someone from the realm state. All the surrounding disciples began to engage in a heated discussion. They did not dare to question the actions of Senior Brother Fang at all, let alone disobey his authority and status. To think that a single human would dare to rile up Senior Brother Fang like this, without any concern towards the severity of the issue. Things might not end as easily with just a broken limb or two today. Fang Weifeng was someone who was born within the ancient saint world, and had spent his life growing up in the Cloud sect. He would forever put on an attitude of him being the greatest there ever was. Even those disciples with powers stronger than Fang Weifeng, but had entered the Cloud sect after him, would give him some leeway, not stooping down to his level. However, now that they were out of the sect, his attitude wasn't something to be tolerated by outsiders. Wei Shen smirked coldly at Lin Fan. He was waiting to see just how this guy was going to kneel down before Senior Brother Fang's might and beg for mercy. That movement technique of yours is pretty mysterious indeed. Looking at Fang Weifeng, who was taking on many different forms right now, Lin Fan's curiosity was piqued. To tell if a sect were strong, one would only have to look at the type of skills their disciples possessed. And, Lin Fan could tell from the get-go that this movement technique was far from ordinary. Moving like the clouds, he might seem as though he possessed a physical body. However, there was none. The smoke disappeared and the clouds dissipated. This was a mysterious movement with ever-changing motions, leading to one becoming indistinguishable between the layers of truth and falsehoods. All of a sudden, Fang Weifeng appeared behind Lin Fan. Punching out with that ever-mighty slap, he hurled out at the back of Lin Fan's head. It was as though he was bent on slapping Lin Fan into a retard. Watch out! Fairy Hongyun's heart was skipping like a deer right now. This wasn't a battle that she had wanted to witness at all. This was especially the case after realizing how vicious her Senior Brother Fang's attacks were. She was afraid that Lin Fan might fall prey to him instead because of his merciful nature. Go to hell! Fang Weifeng's mouth curled coldly. To think that this damned fellow would dare to pit himself against him. He could only use his life as a means of apology then. With his back still facing Fang Weifeng, Lin Fan grinned gently. So what if his movement technique was mythical? N-O-V-E in .C Ohm. Within the Xuanwang world, Lin Fan had always found himself walking through death's doors. Which ones of his battles weren't all earth-shattering and fraught with dangers? If he were to fall prey to Fang Weifeng's Tao just like this, he would have lived his life for nothing at all. In a jiffy, Lin Fan turned around. Raising his hand gently, he stretched out a single finger. This finger was exceptionally normal, without a single stir of energy at all. In fact, all the surrounding disciples right now were pretty sure that this human was going to be slapped to death by their Senior Brother Fang's single move. However, this was when the shocking event happened. All of the disciples rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were seeing things right now. To think that the mighty and formidable palm strike of their Senior Brother Fang would be stopped by a single finger. Nirvana finger. Using the finger as a center, a series of ripples were emitted out. These ripples were like stones that were cast into the gaping maws of the ocean, creating a series of growing ripples. Shing! As though they were dealt some severe impact, the nearby void began to shatter like a cracked mirror, turning into tiny shards of their own. Fang Weifeng's face changed immediately as a growing bubble of horror filled his eyes. He had suddenly realized that the mighty palm strike of his seemed to have met with some sort of an impenetrable wall. With that, an unblockable force was being transmitted from the finger itself. It coiled around the barriers of the void nearby and wrapped itself around his arm. He could feel his arm about to be destroyed at any moment. Damn it! Fang Weifeng blasted out, trying to break free of this power. However, this finger seemed to possess some sort of boundless suction force as it resided in the center of Fang Weifeng's palms. No matter how much strength he exerted, he couldn't break free of it at all. You've provoked me time and again. By every single reason I can think up of, you should be dead right now. However, given the fact that you're Fairy Hongyun's senior brother, I shall spare your life. However, I've got to give you something to remember this day. Lin Fan remarked indifferently. Destroy, Lin Fan hollered out gently. With that, a devastating power appeared. To Fang Weifeng's horror, that palm of his was being separated from him continuously as it turned into specks of dust, disappearing within the face of the heaven and earth. A tragic cry ensued from the screaming Fang Weifeng. Mercy please, Fairy Hongyun chimed in. Lin Fan flicked his finger, sending Fang Weifeng flying off like a bullet. He slammed onto the ground in the distance, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. The surrounding disciples were watching everything with their jaws dropping apart, as all color drained from their faces. To think that this crazily mighty and imposing senior brother Fang of theirs would be taken down by a single move of the other party. Wei Shen was shivering from head to toe right now. He had suddenly realized how scary this human right before his very eyes was. Fang Weifeng was howling out in fury as his eyes were filled with incredulity. However, in the blink of an eye, the look of incredulity changed into that of rage and hatred. He glared at Lin Fan with such baleful eyes, as though he had a blood feud with him. Damn it, how dare you sever my palm from me? I'll kill you, Fang Weifeng screamed out in anguish. Don't come seeking death. The only reason why you're alive is all only because of Fairy Hongyun. If you don't know what's good for you, I wouldn't mind sending you on your way. Lin Fan snorted coldly. I'll have you dead. Fang Weifeng's eyes were bloodshot right now. Evidently, he was going into a state of frenzy. Senior brother Fang, that's enough. Fairy Hongyun intervened. Scram, Fang Weifeng howled in an insane craze. His body jerked as an extremely domineering force burst forth. Power of the Cloud Summit. The moment Fairy Hongyun caught sight of this, her heart jerked as well. To think that senior brother Fang would resort to employing a secret technique. The Cloud Summit stood above the skies in the heavens, looking down on all living beings. This was a state that living beings could not wish to climb up to. Pooey, pooey, spitting out 2 mouthfuls of essence blood, Fang Weifeng gathered them before him. Taking on many different forms, they eventually turned into a red-colored longsword. This red-colored longsword was extremely flexible, as the figure of a Cloud Emperor floated gently above it. This Cloud Emperor's aura was extraordinary, shining down on the rest of the world. Wielding the sword of the Cloud Emperor in his arms, Fang Weifeng instantly became one with the Cloud Emperor. He bolted out at Lin Fan in a huff. His sword stance fluttered in the sky as his aura rumbled furiously, bringing with it a torrent of energy from the heavens that was bent on ending Lin Fan's life right there and then. Lin Fan stood there indifferently. Looking at the anxious look on Fairy Hongyun's face, he nodded his head. Since things had come to this was the only way then. At this moment, Lin Fan crossed 2 fingers together. A single torrent of energy coiled itself around those fingers of his. Whirring, the sound of a vibration rang through the void as Lin Fan disappeared from his original spot. Bare Nudenis. In that instant, the heaven and earth stood still in absolute silence. A flash of light beamed past. Piercing through the spot, Fang Weifeng stood where he was with a grim face. The sword of the Cloud Emperor in his hands dissipated like the clouds, ceasing to exist any longer. Ha ha! Suddenly, Fang Weifeng burst out laughing. He had felt the sword of the Cloud Emperor pierce through the body of the other party. What are you laughing at? Suddenly, a voice permeated through the void. Fang Weifeng's face changed immediately into one of disbelief. How did you do it? Fang Weifeng refused to believe everything before his very eyes. He had clearly felt the sensation of piercing through the other party. Why the hell was this fella still alive? Ah! Suddenly, a series of shrill cries coming from the female disciples amongst the spectating disciples rang out. At the same time, there were muffled laughter and discussion amongst the other disciples. Fang Weifeng suddenly felt a frosty chill around his body. Lowering his head, his entire face turned white as a sheet. Shame, anger, madness, hatred, to think that Brother Fang is into stuff like that. Something as small as a popcorn, this is the first time I'm seeing something like this in my life. At this moment, Lin Fan's voice was the only thing that could be heard in the world. However, this voice was a world of eternal pain for Fang Weifeng. Uck, 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 uck. With that, he spat out blood in a flurry, spraying it all around the sky in a tragic state. At this moment, the burning flame of rage had struck straight into the heart of Fang Weifeng. Unable to endure this humiliation, he fell to a thud as he fainted onto the ground. Chapter 574, Tomb of the Emperor. Chapter 574, Tomb of the Emperor. Ding, Bare Nudenis has leveled up. Ding, Bare Nudenis has leveled up. Leveling twice in a row, this was a pretty decent result for Lin Fan. However, what Lin Fan had not expected was that this skill was so damn strong. Even at this point in time, he could not figure out at all how the other party's clothes were removed. As for the surrounding disciples, the sight of their senior brother Fang without a single piece of garment on him had them totally flabbergasted. In fact, even some of the female disciples who once had a crush on senior brother Fang were now revealing looks of contempt at that popcorn-sized object at his groin. Instantly, those crushes flew away into the skies and ceased to exist. Should one go for power or happiness? For these girls, the latter was obviously the most important. When the masses realized that Lin Fan's gaze was turned upon them, their hearts froze up immediately, as though they were faced with a ferocious tiger right before them. They knew that the reason why senior brother Fang was entirely nude right now must be due to the doings of this human. Horrifying. Way too horrifying. In the blink of an eye, he had removed all of senior brother Fang's clothing. If they were to be the victim of this move of his, how terrifying would that be? This one move of Lin Fan also caused the hearts of some of the female disciples to bubble up with fear. If they had accidentally offended this man and ended up like senior brother Fang, that would be absolutely horrifying to imagine. Han Yun looked over at Lin Fan, blinking her eyes blankly in helplessness. She had not expected Lin Fan to have such a frightening move. She knew that Lin Fan's powers were way stronger than senior brother Fang's to begin with. But she had not expected the difference to be this great. Fairy Han Yun, we shouldn't reside here overly long. It's time to set out. Lin Fan was feeling a little guilty in his heart right now. He shouldn't have used bare nudiness. After all, this was a skill that was way too damaging to the public morals. However, what could he do now that he had already done it? But fair enough, at least it was enough to solidify his might as a threat to everyone else. All of the male disciples who had been surrounding Fang Weifeng earlier on now stood rooted to their spot obediently, not daring to act overly impudent and the likes. All right. Fairy Han Yun's body shuddered momentarily. Finally, she was starting to feel a little scared of Lin Fan. That move was way too strong. Senior brother Fang did not even have a chance to retaliate. Even though senior brother Fang wasn't stronger than Lin Fan, he was still an imposing existence amongst them nevertheless. To think that he would be stripped stark naked without any way of fighting back at all. If Lin Fan were to turn against her for any reason, she would surely stand no chance at all. At this moment, Tianyin's heart was pretty rattled as well. He had not expected Lin Fan to be this strong. If senior brother Fang were to vent all his frustrations onto Tianyin himself once they got back to the sect, that would be a true tragedy. However, Tianyin did not voice out his concerns. Even though he might suffer back in the sect, at least there was no worry of him losing his life because of it. At the same time, he felt that it was all worth it now that he could take a peep at senior brother Fang's small secret. To think that senior brother Fang's nether regions would only be the size of a popcorn. Once this piece of news got back to the sect, it would definitely spread like wildfire. Haha, with that, Lin Fan and the rest of them made haste. Along the way, they bumped into many living beings that were born within the Firewater secret grounds. These living beings did not belong to any race or anything. They were all created from the concentrated spirit chi of the Firewater secret grounds itself. During his flight, Lin Fan also caught sight of a gorge where a six-armed giant was fighting with another giant. However, in the blink of an eye, Lin Fan casually slayed both the giants and tossed their thick spirit, essence, and vitality into the demon city, boosting its powers. Look, guys, a gigantic door has opened up straight ahead. Suddenly, Tianyin pointed out into the distance. Lin Fan turned his gaze over. Indeed, up ahead, there was a gigantic door that was around 10,000 feet in height. At this moment, the door had already been opened. However, there was a gigantic blue and red vortex that was twisting right before the door. I believe that the tomb of the Firewater Emperor should be up ahead. Fairy Han Yun spoke up. Lin Fan did not know where this blue and red vortex was connected to. Upon taking a closer inspection, he realized that there were a variety of mysterious images and runic symbols on the door itself. There were two figures of giants that attracted Lin Fan's attention particularly. Red, blue, these giants were remarkably lifelike in their image. These two giants, could they have been drawn up by the Firewater Emperor personally? Lin Fan was feeling some uncertainties in his heart. Even though the giants were just images carved into the stone, he could feel a mighty aura being emanated out from them. Here, there are markings left behind by our elders here. Checking out the surroundings, Han Yun exclaimed out urgently. Lin Fan and the others landed on the ground. What markings? The elders are engaged in a fight with some outsiders. Right now, all of them are within the tomb. Fairy Han Yun remarked. At this moment, only two paths were awaiting Lin Fan and the others. The first was to head into the vortex, and the second was to find a place to hide. Seems like we've been careless this time around. To think that there would be these many powerful beings eyeing the opening of the Firewater secret grounds. Seems like it's already extremely lucky for us to even remain alive up till this point. Fairy Hongyun continued. Even though they were divine celestials, if the outsiders and powerful beings were locked in a stalemate with their elders, they must naturally be of divine celestial level 4 or 5. If they were to meet such powerful beings, they would naturally be slain in the blink of an eye. At this moment, Fairy Hongyun turned around to the masses. My fellow sect members, it is fraught with immense dangers within. If anyone does not wish to enter, please find a hiding spot in the meantime. When the elders finally make their way out, we'll leave this place together. The crowd turned their heads and looked at one another. Senior Sister Hongyun, you've once said that encounters depend on one's fates. Everyone has their lives predetermined. The fact that we've made it here to the Firewater secret grounds is an affinity to begin with. I want to enter and see what sort of destiny awaits me. A middle-aged man with a square face spoke up with a bright thirst shining in his eyes. There are many encounters awaiting us in the Firewater secret grounds. Too many to count in fact. If I do not head in and give it a shot, I'll definitely feel immensely regretful as well. Everyone at this place felt that they would definitely not rest in peace if they did not give it a shot while they could. Alright, since that's the case, let us head in then. Even though life and death might not be in our hands once we enter, I implore all of you to watch out for your safety first within. Fairy Hongyun replied. Suddenly, Lin Fan frowned. He could sense a few auras approaching from the distance. Hurry up and enter. There are more people coming. Lin Fan warned out. Go. Without much hesitation, the masses leapt into the vortex. Instantly, the heavens toppled and the earth flipped over. Everything before them turned pitch black. The next time Lin Fan opened his eyes to look for everyone else, he was in a place that was completely empty. Checking out his surroundings keenly, Lin Fan realized that he had appeared within some sort of a maze. This maze was extremely vast, where its boundaries could not even be seen at all. Within this maze stood many tall stone statues. All of them were crafted intricately, and looked extremely lifelike, wielding weapons of their own. Seems like everyone who enters this place would be teleported to a random location. Oh well, this is a rare opportunity still. Time to search for the Firewater Emperor's treasure before anything else. Without any delay, Lin Fan leapt up from the ground and flew out towards the distance. However, his face changed immediately as a black figure bolted out at him instantly. By the time he could identify his target, he realized that all the stone statues had started moving without him realizing at all. These stone statues were extremely imposing and fearsome. Those initially darkened sockets of theirs were now lit ablaze with a fiery flame. The weapons in their hands cleaved out at Lin Fan at this moment. Chapter 575, Does this place have any shame left? Chapter 575, Does this place have any shame left? This 1,000-feet-tall giant had an extremely imposing aura as he wielded a long axe, cleaving through the void down at Lin Fan. Bam! Shifting his body nimbly, Lin Fan stared at the destructive powers of the giant with an utterly stupefied gaze. Such strength! To think that the surface of the Firewater secret grounds would be cleaved into a chasm so deep that one could not even make out the bottom of it all, with just that one single slam of the axe. Lin Fan's body was like an agile snake right now as he dodged to the side of the giant. Twirling his finger to create a light spot, he struck out with this single point and tapped on the head of the giant. Withering everything present, this destructive power surged through the entire body of the giant, disintegrating it into dust immediately. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State Puppet Giant. Ding! Experience points plus 50,000 feet. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining Puppet Giant Talisman by 1 foot. Puppet Giant Talisman. Able to summon 1x Puppet Giant of Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State to engage in combat for you. Lin Fan toyed around with this dusky talisman paper in his hands while his mind was pondering over it. Even though these puppet giants were of Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State, they had not managed to cultivate any realms for themselves. All they possessed were the strength of someone of that level. Thump, thump. Suddenly, a series of sounds rang out in Lin Fan's ears. Another stone giant up ahead was starting to stir as multiple rocks fell onto the ground from its body. What in the world is going on here right now? Lin Fan was astonished, unable to comprehend the situation of this place. No, I can't continue to play around with these stone giants. Time to get the hell out of this place. With a whim of his mind, Lin Fan activated so near, yet so far. However, suddenly, Lin Fan appeared right where he was once more. There was an invisible force blocking Lin Fan's path forward. This force was calm as water, yet it was as more resolute than anything else. Lin Fan slammed his fist into this invisible force. Instantly, a few ripples spread out across the barrier. However, it returned to normalcy thereafter, without any motion once more. The situation before Lin Fan had him utterly stumped. He was the clearest about the strength level of his fist. However, to think that all it created was some ripples on the barrier. What in the world was up with this thing? With that, the newly created stone giant pounced out at Lin Fan. Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise State. Looking at the giant, Lin Fan frowned. Was this tomb of the Fire Water Emperor bent on killing everyone entirely? However, the moment the stone giant struck out, Lin Fan was elated. Even though this was a Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise State being, it hadn't cultivated out its paradise at all. At this moment, Lin Fan chuckled. Pure brute strength without a paradise. This was as good as a paper tiger. Shifting his body once more, Lin Fan's speed was exceptionally fast. Surpassing everything, he slammed out with the Doomsday Calamity God Fist. Bringing with it an endless might, that force that seemingly brought down the entire Doomsday itself landed on the body of the stone giant. Crack, ding, congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise State Puppet Giant. Ding, experience points plus 100,000 feet. Ding, congratulations on obtaining Puppet Giant Talisman by 1 foot. To think that the experience points gained would be this limited by the absence of his paradise. That's a pity indeed. Lin Fan was pretty exasperated right now. However, he still had no idea what he was going to do. All of this was stuff created by the Fire Water Emperor. Did this bloody Fire Water Emperor have too much time on his hands? Why the hell would he create all of these stone giants for no reason at all? In another isolated space. At this moment, the Divine Celestial Level 1, True State Tianyan had just killed a stone giant. What in the world is this place? To think that these stone giants would possess such strength. Checking out the situation around him, Tianyan's heart could not help but be filled with worries. He wondered how everyone else was right now. But, just as Tianyan was looking for a way out of this, yet another stone giant appeared. Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State. Sensing the power level of this stone giant, Tianyan's face changed immediately. Wasn't this just pushing him to his death? But, at this point in time, there was nothing else he could do except engage it in battle. Even though this stone giant did not have a cultivated realm of its own, it was still a really formidable opponent for Tianyan nevertheless. When the stone giant landed a punch against Tianyan, his face changed immediately. He knew that he wasn't far from death's door right now. However, just as the punch made contact with him, a gigantic black hole appeared behind his back immediately. Feeling the immense energy coursing through his entire body, it caused his body to turn upside down as his brain was muddled up like glue right now. You have no rights to enter the tomb of the Fire Water Emperor. Return. The giant retracted his fist and stood back where he was originally, entering a deep slumber once more. I'll return once more. Upon hearing the words of the stone giant, Tianyan could feel a wrench in his heart. To think that he would be forced to leave so soon after his entry to this place. At this moment, the entire region returned to its eerily silent mood. The utmost supreme skill to demolish the voids. Emptiness sword will. Lin Fan stuck up his thumb. Using his palm as an embodiment of the sword itself, he pierced through everything and slashed out at the giant. These never-ending giants were causing Lin Fan to feel somewhat exasperated. Each time he defeated a single giant, another stronger one would spawn. However, the only thing to rejoice about was the fact that these stone giants were mere brute strength, without anything else. This single fact allowed Lin Fan to deal with them with relative ease for now, without much pressure on his hands. However, the cultivation states of the stone giants were getting stronger each time. Even without the exact strength of their corresponding cultivation states, they were still getting more difficult to deal with each time. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 4, Undying State Puppet Giant. Ding! Experience points plus 150,000 feet. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining Puppet Giant Talisman by 1 foot. By the time he was done killing this stone giant, Lin Fan heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was starting to get a little pissed off by these giants. He just had to see what other bullshit this Fire Water secret grounds could come up with. Grind, grind. The sound of the stone giant stirring up rang through the void once more. At this point, Lin Fan was starting to curse their mothers. Was this ever going to be done? One should not try their luck thrice. Right now, this was the fourth stone giant. One mustn't go so overboard with their sh*t. Did they really take yours truly as a superhuman? FCK. This is too much. Lin Fan hollered out. Without waiting for the stone giant to strike out, he made the first move. Two Dao weapons flew out in an arc from Lin Fan's hands, swinging down at the stone giant in fury. Without any bit of hesitation, Lin Fan used up all 4 of the puppet giant talismans he had obtained as well. Instantly, 4 stone giants appeared and leapt forth. You want to fight? Let's see who's afraid of whom. You want to compete with magical skills? All right then, yours truly shall play you to the death. Lin Fan's magic powers surged around him furiously. Covering the sky with his arm, he grabbed down at the stone giant with his 5 fingers in a claw-like shape, aiming for the head of the stone giant. Roar! The stone giant gave off a maddened roar, as an immense power burst forth from him. Before the 4 puppet giants could even get close, they were smashed into pieces by him. Lin Fan did not hesitate in the least bit. Everything between his 5 fingers exploded immediately, bringing the entire void tumbling down with him. Destruction. The demon city and flying heavens crashed with a massive force onto the stone giant as well. Boom. Lin Fan could feel an extremely repressive force as the aura climbed steadily. One strike of destruction. At this moment, Lin Fan deployed every single move in his arsenal, as all his true skill seeds churned wildly. A long river of his skills was cultivated out. Bringing with it an infinitely bright glow, it gushed down at the stone giant. The true skill seeds churned rapidly as a series of skill spirits stood imposingly. Deploying each of their special moves, this boundless might encompassed the vast sky, rendering one unable to block it at all. Bam! Bam! Receiving this chain of attacks had the stone giant crumbling down into pieces. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 5, Essence Spirit State Puppet Giant. Ding! Experience points plus 200,000 feet. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining Puppet Giant Talisman by 1 foot November LBJNN. Lin Fan stood there wavering slightly. No more, please. Any more and he might truly be doomed. Even though these stone giants had nothing but mere strength, if their strength were to continue accumulating to a certain degree, it would still be something overwhelming, even if they did not have any special properties to their powers. By now, Lin Fan's nuts were starting to feel the sting. Was he supposed to continue challenging them to no ends? By the time he couldn't take down the final stone giant, he would be crushed to death harshly. Holy FCK, this is AFC King Sham. At this moment, in yet another dimension. Even though Fairy Hongyun's cultivation state was only that of a Divine Celestial Level 1, true state, she found herself being able to challenge up to a Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise State Stone Giant. However, she was still overwhelmed by the strength of the stone giant right here. With that, Fairy Hongyun was also struck down by the punch of the stone giant. At first, Fairy Hongyun thought that her life was about to end right here. But right before the punch of the giant reached her, she was swallowed up by a similar black hole behind her. Challenge successful. Entering the tomb of the Firewater Emperor. Come on, yours truly isn't afraid of you guys. Come at me again if you've got the guts. Looking at the stone giant's statues surrounding him, Lin Fan bellowed out. Too much. This was way too much. To think that they would dare to term this as the Firewater Secret Grounds. No, this was a downright shammy place filled with scams to no ends. Sending all these trials one after another, does this place know no shame? They were just bent on forcing everyone to their wits' ends. Chapter 576, Tragedy Ensues. Chapter 576, Tragedy Ensues. By now, Lin Fan was about to flip entirely. This Firewater Emperor must be one hell of AFC King Con artist. If he didn't want anyone to enter his tomb, why the hell would he leave all those directional talismans around? Wasn't that all just to scam people with? Right now, Lin Fan was entirely pissed off with this Firewater Emperor. If he were still alive right now, Lin Fan would definitely punch his face so badly that his parents wouldn't be able to recognize him anymore. And just as Lin Fan was brooding in his heart, the void began to tremble gently. Lin Fan focused up instinctively, wondering what sort of bullshit was about to happen right now. Since those stone giants couldn't kill yours truly, there should be something even more vicious appearing right now. But, when Lin Fan caught sight of the figure that appeared out of thin air, he frowned. Who are you? He asked warily. The person before him was indistinguishable between male and female. Wearing a mask, the figure of this person was hidden beneath a long robe. You've entered my tomb, yet you do not know who I am. A voice that was gender-neutral rang out from beneath the mask. Fire Water Emperor. Lin Fan could not help but feel some goosebumps in his heart. This couldn't be, could it? Since those stone giants couldn't kill yours truly, this person was going to come at him personally now. But that was not right either. Hadn't the Fire Water Emperor already fallen? Why the hell would she appear right now? Who in the world are you? The Fire Water Emperor has long fallen. You can't be him, Lin Fan remarked cautiously. At the same time, he was sneakily preparing a plan within his mind. This would undoubtedly lead to a battle later on. Furthermore, this fella's aura was really extraordinary. It was unusually scary. The Fire Water Emperor did not speak as it floated gently in the skies, looking at Lin Fan and feeling a little startled within her heart as well. Even though the stone giants possessed nothing but brute strength, there had never been anyone who could surpass so many levels of the challenges. This was pretty incredible indeed. However, the more this was the case, the better it was. After all, only a person of extraordinary caliber was befitting of inheriting her legacy. And perhaps, there would be then a chance of someone rescuing him out. This is only a single strain of your Majesty's essence spirit that has manifested into a physical state. You have already earned the right to enter my tomb. There is no need to resist. Your Majesty shall send you right over. The Fire Water Emperor spoke up. Lin Fan was starting to curse at this person's mother right now. No need to resist. Did he think that yours truly was a fool? Alright, send me over then. Even though Lin Fan agreed with the arrangements verbally, he was secretly building up his realm. Bigra was something that had neither a color nor a smell. It was without a form or body, or any vibrations. This was the holy grail of all sneak attacks. The Fire Water Emperor came before Lin Fan slowly. From beneath the robes, she stretched out a hand that caused Lin Fan to cringe. This hand was tender and silky smooth. Pale like a piece of jade, its fingers were extremely long with glistening nails. This wasn't the hands that a man should have. Bloody hell, FC King Tranny, Lin Fan cussed in his head. At the moment when the Fire Water Emperor approached, Lin Fan's body flashed, HMPH. Trying to trick yours truly? You're way too naive. Instantly, Lin Fan disappeared from where he was. The surrounding air was suddenly covered up by a ball of mist. Realm. Just as the Fire Water Emperor was still surprised, the realm opened up and swallowed him in within. And to think that you dare to call yourself the Fire Water Emperor. Yours truly here shall whack a pig's head out of you today. Lin Fan suddenly went wild and burst forth at the Fire Water Emperor. You. The Fire Water Emperor had not expected this fella to distrust herself right from the beginning. However, with this, the Fire Water Emperor was pretty impressed as well. Since this was the case, it was time to test out the potential of this fella. Even though this was just a single strain of the Fire Water Emperor's essence spirit, the amount of power that he possessed was something that Lin Fan couldn't deal with nevertheless. Despite that, the Fire Water Emperor had the intention of checking out this man's latent potential. For that, she curbed back on his true strength. As the both of them exchanged blows, the void began to break apart continuously before regenerating rapidly. The Fire Water Emperor had not expected this fella to be this strong. Even though he was just a divine celestial level 2, realm state being, his magical powers were extremely profound. He was definitely undefeatable by anyone of the same state. In fact, even paradise state powerful beings might not be a match for this man. The mist revolved continuously, wrapping the Fire Water Emperor in even tighter. Seeing this, Lin Fan's heart leapt with joy. Once this person's heart was taken over by the Bigra, yours truly would then show him who was the boss. Alright. Suddenly, the expression of the Fire Water Emperor beneath her mask took a turn, feeling a warm sensation within her body. There's something wrong with this mist. Suddenly, the Fire Water Emperor started to react to the situation. Using a strong burst of energy, she repelled Lin Fan away and channeled the energy inwards, trying to suppress that building restlessness within her body. However, to the Fire Water Emperor's shock, the restless fervent energy broke through her suppression methods, and was beginning to spread out. How could this be? At this moment, the Fire Water Emperor thought in absolute disbelief. Just what in the world was going on with this guy's realm? Even though this was only a single strain of essence spirit, it shouldn't be something that the other party could deal with given his current strength level. HMPH. Trying to scam yours truly. Do you know of yours truly's true powers right now? Since you're keeping yourself hidden so secretively, yours truly shall expose your true self right now. Looking at the quivering body of this masked person, Lin Fan was extremely ecstatic. Shifting his body nimbly, he darted towards the masked person. Bare Nudenus. With that, Lin Fan deployed that godly skill of his. He had to see just who in the world was beneath this secretive mask and robes. The consciousness of the Fire Water Emperor was starting to get fuzzy. Just as she was distracted, a bright flash shone over. N-O-V-E in .C ohm. Lin Fan's strike had succeeded, piercing through everything. His lips curled into a grin. Whether you're a human or a ghost, there's nowhere for you to hide in the hands of yours truly. Lin Fan turned his head around, intent on finding out who this person before him was. How could this be? But Lin Fan was petrified right now as he glared in disbelief. The mask had fallen, revealing a face of absolute gorgeousness that was unable to be described with mere words. This face was filled with a disposition of royalty, holiness, and superiority. A long, silky head of hair laid on those snow-white smooth shoulders. But the most jaw-dropping of it all for Lin Fan was that stark naked body of incomparable beauty, which stood right before his very eyes. Light bounced off the flawless, porcelain skin of hers. In fact, there were even two stunningly perky mountain peaks that were topped off with two cute red dots, displaying their brilliance to the world. The moment this perfect body appeared, the entire world dimmed equivalently, as though its color was drained in comparison to the dazzling beauty of this work of art. Holy FCK, Lin Fan was completely confounded by now. To think that this was a female. In this instance where Lin Fan was momentarily distracted, that jade-like hand gripped on Lin Fan's wrist tightly. What are you trying to do? Lin Fan was starting to panic. This was the first time something as such has happened to him after his usage of Bigra. And right in this instance where Lin Fan was momentarily panicking, that peerlessly gorgeous face was separated from Lin Fan's cheeks by only a hair's breadth. At this moment, the ravishing features of the Fire Water Emperor were flushed red. Those sparkling eyes of hers seemed to be burning with twin raging flames. What in the hell is this? Hurry up and release me from it. The Fire Water Emperor gasped out in a slight moan, feeling frightened in her heart. However, she was unable to control her body as it pounced out at Lin Fan. I can't release this at all. Hurry up and let go of me. I'm someone with a wife. Lin Fan struggled. However, her vice-like grip was like a nail that was pinned tightly onto Lin Fan. Before he knew it, her thighs moved like agile snakes and wrapped themselves around his neck. I want it. The Fire Water Emperor's consciousness was entirely controlled by Bigra at this moment. The only thing on her mind were primordial carnal instincts. But I don't want it. Lin Fan screamed out anxiously. Suddenly, Lin Fan's mouth was clamped shut. FCK. She was forcing herself onto yours truly. Chapter 577, Coexistence of Pain and Happiness. Chapter 577, Coexistence of Pain and Happiness. By now, Lin Fan had no idea what he should say any longer. Everything was happening way too suddenly. The might of Bigra was something that was unparalleled. However, Lin Fan was a man of conscience. Hence, he had never ever used it on a woman. However, to his disbelief, the masked person turned out to be a woman. In life, there would always be times where one would commit mistakes. Originally, this wouldn't cause any issues at all. Even though he might have fed a woman some Bigra by accident, so what? At most, he would just let the woman deal with it herself. She could follow on the path of the snow lion in the past and settle her desires on her own. But this time around, he was played right into the equation as well. Bigra was truly a pill that had no antidote to it. This was precisely the reason why it was termed as the strongest buff there ever could be. If there were an antidote to it, that would mean that there was a weakness to Bigra, and Lin Fan would probably not refer to it as his strongest existence by then. And just as Lin Fan was in the midst of struggling, the Fire Water chick shuddered as though a wave was going to gush out. Don't tear at my clothes. You're a beast, Lin Fan hollered. However, how could his petite little body fight against the furious assault of this Fire Water chick? FCK my life. To think that yours truly would be forced on by a 10,000 years old hag. Where's the justice in this, dear heavens? Lin Fan was railing curses. How could he be tainted by this old woman here? All of you, hurry come out and help me. Lin Fan called upon his Dao weapons. However, to Lin Fan's dismal, a single burst of aura from the Fire Water Emperor had every single one of the Dao weapons suppressed, rendering them immobile within his body. Don't bite at my neck. What's that hand of yours up to? What are you trying to do? Lin Fan struggled furiously. However, all of a sudden, his entire body quivered. To think that the tender, boneless hand of the Fire Water chick would stretch itself right into the pants of Lin Fan's groin area. That delicate lily-white hand of hers was slowly touching up Lin Fan's groin. That hand technique of hers was superb and well polished, causing Lin Fan to be completely stumped. Why you? Lin Fan had not expected such skills from the fire-water chick. This was entirely out of his expectations. No, how can I allow you to succeed? Spiritual and mental defense. I'll hold it in and I'll hold it in. I'll definitely not get hard. Lin Fan was fighting back furiously, channeling all his magical powers while forcefully suppressing everything back. He was bent on not allowing the fire-water chick to get her way. The fire-water chick, who was entirely disoriented by the Bigra, could not help but get anxious right now. It was as though she could not find a way to vent all her frustrations. Lin Fan was grappling in this wrestling, determined not to let the fire-water chick invade him. This beautifully and red-flushed water fire chick was pushing down on Lin Fan with one hand, rendering him motionless. With her other hand, she was still furiously tugging and playing with his groin. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that his defenses were being torn down by the frenzied fire-water chick. Instantly, an endless amount of energy was being given out by the palms of the fire-water chick. Lin Fan instantly felt his body being sealed by some sort of a lock, rendering him entirely motionless. In fact, he couldn't even lift a single finger. Holy FCK, why you? Lin Fan was utterly stumped right now. To think that this fire-water chick would seal him up as such before taking her time to play with him. How could Lin Fan endure something like this at all? I'll never ever bow down to you. Lin Fan's eyes were resolute. By now, all of Lin Fan's clothes were stripped cleanly by the fire-water chick. Even though the fire-water chick herself was trying her best to resist this in her heart, she only thought that was swarming her mind under the influence of Bigra was to release. She wanted to release and vent all of these frustrations. While her mental state was being rattled by Bigra, her innate capabilities were still existent. For her to be able to become the fire-water emperor, her knowledge of the world was definitely something that mere commoners could not hope to compare with. In the flash of an eye, Lin Fan suddenly realized that the finger of the fire-water chick was lighting up with a bright glow. This glow seemed to be fused with the essence of fire and water, hot and cold, warm and cool. The magical powers of these properties were imbued at her fingertips, causing Lin Fan much difficulty in resisting this. To think that this is the fire and water twin heavens. Lin Fan couldn't hold it any longer. The tables had turned entirely. He was utterly incapable of resistance right now. A towering pillar ensued. FCK, I'm dead. Lin Fan looked at the situation unfolding before him and shut his eyes gently. Two clear streams of tears ran down the course of his cheeks. This time around, he had really been FCKED big time. The other party really got the better of him. From this point forth, there would be a blemish on this life of his. Lin Fan's tears of despair made their way down from her eyes. When he next opened his eyes, the fire-water emperor was riding on him. She was free and happy like a cheery cowgirl riding on a rapid horse, galloping around the grasslands with fervor, humping wildly, bumping crazily, and yelling shrilly. Those two cute, little red cheery dots danced in front of Lin Fan's eyes in a hypnotizing cycle. Suddenly, Lin Fan discovered a vacuum-like suction appearing at his groin area. At the same time, two distinctively mysterious energies were gushing into his body. Lin Fan did not know what was going on right now. Before long, he found himself immersed deeply within his inner world. The colors of red and blue were intertwined in the form of two long rivers originating from the body of the fire-water emperor. Upon receiving this twin surge of energy, the slowly growing mythical parasol tree suddenly bloomed lusciously, as its roots grew ever thicker and stronger. It's germinating once more. The secret of the mythical parasol tree was something that had yet to be uncovered entirely by Lin Fan. Normally, he would let it absorb the saint spirit chi of the surroundings and boost it with his own vitality and magical powers. However, the current growth spurt of the mythical parasol tree had Lin Fan seeing a new world of hope altogether. These twin energies should be the true essence of the fire-water emperor's core. Not only were these twin true essence nourishing the mythical parasol tree, they were seeping within Lin Fan's own realm as well. Even though this was only a single strain of the fire-water emperor's essence spirit, it possessed a portion of the fire-water emperor's core. Everything that was going on right now was being transmitted to the main body of the fire-water emperor as well. Even though Lin Fan had cultivated out his realm, its foundation wasn't all that firm just yet. It was still a piece of work in progress, requiring constant absorption of energy, replenishment, and refining. However, under the surge of these twin energies, Lin Fan realized that all the gods of his skills within the realm were appearing on their own as well. Following that, they started sitting down in a cross-legged position, making use of this twin energy to cultivate themselves. Even though it hadn't been that long since Lin Fan had started his path of cultivation, he was someone with a wide knowledge of things. He knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The source of the twin powers that the Fire-Water Emperor cultivated was stronger than anything else in this world. At its core, water was used to cleanse every single thing in this world. On the other hand, the core of fire was used to refine and forge everything in the world. Boom! Suddenly, a loud explosion rang out from Lin Fan's realm, and a series of thunderbolts cruised through it. The refinement of true fire and the nourishment of water. Under the surge of these two powers, Lin Fan's realm was growing rapidly, and being improved comprehensively. At the same time, the realm was starting to take on different shapes. The realm shone with a crystallized radiance. This sparkling gleam was filled with an endless amount of energy, causing Lin Fan's realm to expand outwards continuously. Master, this energy is way too wondrous. I feel as though I'm about to reach the state of Tao right now. All of the skill gods stood upright within the realm right now. Their bodies illuminated with all sorts of divine luster as though they had just comprehended some form of energy from the unknowns. Suddenly, a burst of energy ripped through Lin Fan's realm, creating a black hole. Even though Lin Fan did not know what was going on, he was entirely startled when he took a closer look. To think that this was the paradise of the Fire-Water Emperor. An aurora was spreading out from the paradise of the Fire-Water Emperor, illuminating Lin Fan's realm. Each place the aurora landed, flowers would blossom, creating life wherever it went. Just how in the world was this paradise created? Lin Fan was utterly stumped right now. To think that the paradise of the Fire-Water Emperor would look exactly like a real world. Living beings trod around everywhere while the sun shone brightly up in the sky. Countless living beings made their way into Lin Fan's realm and began to cultivate the ground within his realm, planting down innumerable seeds of hope. Compared to the paradise of the Fire-Water Emperor, the paradise of the infinite Bad Old Master could hardly be considered as a paradise at all. Within the lands of the 8 utmost beings of the ancient race. 8 towering spires stood between the heaven and earth. Between them, something was happening in that gigantic black hole that was covered up by a web of light beams. Instantly, all 8 utmost beings of the ancient race disappeared from their thrones. The next time they reappeared, they were already floating above this gigantic hole that was spread out over a vast area. Suppress. A massive amount of energy pushed down upon the hole, repressing the vibrations that were occurring right now. Within that pitch-black and enigmatic black hole, a woman was flushed red. There was a mixture of expressions on her face right now. Some anger, some embarrassment and shyness, some shock. However, the most prominent one was the domineering intent within her eyes. Just who in the world is this human? To think that the two great true essence would actually show signs of wanting to fuse. Chapter 578. This B*TCH is way too overbearing. Chapter 578. This B*TCH is way too overbearing. Compared to the paradise of the Fire-Water Emperor, Lin Fan's realm was way too feeble and puny. In fact, it was so weak that it couldn't even be compared with a speck of dust. This was the first time Lin Fan came across such a huge paradise. If he hadn't seen it with his very eyes, he might have been sold by a trash standard such as that of the infinite Bad Old Master. Could that shithole of a place even be considered as a paradise in the face of this? That was practically not even 1/1000th of this at all. At this moment, there were signs of the Fire-Water Emperor's paradise and Lin Fan's realm wanting to merge together. In fact, rather than a merge, it should be said that the paradise of the Fire-Water Emperor was leading his realm into a flourishing state. As the saying went, I'll turn you awesome and carry you with me. In the past, Lin Fan had always been the one carrying others. But right now, he was the one being carried. This was such a mysterious sensation. He was practically winning by being away from keyboard. This dazzling radiance lit up his entire realm. The twin true essence of fire and water swiveled within the realm, circling all over the place. Crack. Suddenly, Lin Fan's realm began to crack continuously. However, it was forming up as fast as it was cracking. It was akin to a phoenix's nirvana rebirth. Every single rebirth would bring the phoenix's strength to the next level. All of a sudden, Lin Fan realized that the system was starting to move as well. That fusion function that he hadn't used in a long time was beginning to churn and activate right now. Initially, these two great true essence were mutually incompatible with one another. However, under the fusion function of the system, they were mixing together continuously, forming a new core of true essence altogether. Bam! This first of its kind core of the true essence floated gently in the skies of the realm. Suddenly, it burst out into spots of starlight and gravitated within the realm. With that, the realm began to strengthen and refine itself furiously, as the consciousness of the realm itself began to evolve. Holy FCK, am I going to level up? Lin Fan could feel the power level within himself climbing furiously, as though it was about to reach its next destination. What came after destruction was rebirth. Bam! Instantly, Lin Fan's realm disintegrated into dust, and everything delved into a state of jet-black darkness. Just as Lin Fan was still in a state of bewilderment, a small spot illuminated through the endless darkness. It expanded continuously, bringing with it rainbow-colored broken crystal shards before floating up and spreading out in all directions. It was as though something was vacuuming it towards the surroundings as it held itself there. Ding! Congratulations on leveling up. Ding! Cultivation state. Divine Celestial Level 3, Paradise state. Now that the realm has reached its limit, it is being forcibly upgraded. This was a situation that Lin Fan had yet to come across. To think that he would bypass the experience points threshold due to the Fire Water Emperor, and be pushed straight into the Paradise state. This was something that Lin Fan had never ever considered before. How amazingly FCKED up was this? At this moment, before Lin Fan could even take a look at that newly created paradise of his, he felt a strong suction force pulling him out of his inner world. Opening his eyes, Lin Fan realized that he had shot out everything without even realizing when. At the same time, the Fire Water chick had already reached her climax as well, as she laid on his chest with her long hair resting everywhere. November LBJNN. The Fire Water Emperor was prostrated limply on his own body. That snow-white silky skin of hers was flushed slightly red right now. By now, Lin Fan realized that he had regained control of his bodily motions. Immediately, his expression changed. Now that the effects of Bigra were already over, he shouldn't remain at the bottom position right now. If the Fire Water chick were to strike at him, he would have nowhere to run at all. At this point, Lin Fan was thoroughly convinced that this chick right here was the Fire Water Emperor. After all, at the moment where the twin core of true essence was intertwined, he couldn't be any more familiar with those sensations. However, just as Lin Fan was trying hard to think of his next course of action, he realized that the Fire Water Emperor's eyes were fixated on his face right now. At this moment, Lin Fan felt fear. He was thoroughly FCKED this time around. If I die under a skirt, I can still flirt as a ghost. Flirt your mother. Yours truly didn't wish for this. Right now, Lin Fan was pinned right below the Fire Water Emperor. It was hard to say that the Fire Water Emperor would not hesitate to slap him into dust immediately should he make any sudden movements. Lin Fan gulped down his saliva while his heart thumped furtively. He was suddenly realizing how close he was to death's door at this moment. The single thought of the Fire Water Emperor slapping him to death had his member going limp instantly. Instantly, the brows of the Fire Water Emperor frowned. By the looks of it, Lin Fan was pretty sure she was going to kill him right now. Boo-hoo, dear goes ma chastity YYY. An idea flashed into Lin Fan's mind. First, you cry. Second, you scream. Third, you go for the noose. Right now, he had to start crying. Also, the more sorrowful his cries were, the better. Based on his experience, female beings had a maternal nature to them, and would often flood with emotions. This was especially the case for a sweet young thing such as himself, who had pretty good looks as well. Who knew if the Fire Water chick might take pity on him and spare his life? At the start, Lin Fan had some grudges about being forced on by the Fire Water chick. However, now that his paradise was completed, he had decided to let it go. Fine then, he would take this as compensated dating then. Get hard. Now, the Fire Water Emperor stared at Lin Fan coldly. Her tone was even frostier. Upon hearing the words of the Fire Water Emperor, Lin Fan did not dare to hesitate as his member jerked upright once more. Thud! The Fire Water Emperor stood up. That wonderful watering hole of hers, that petite frame of hers, everything was in an absolutely unobstructed view. However, how would Lin Fan dare to have any stray thoughts right now? At first, he did not know how powerful this person was. However, right now, Lin Fan could tell that the Fire Water Emperor could easily kill him if she truly wanted to. I will not kill you. Your Majesty here has trodden over all the ancient times. But, I've yet to take in a spouse. Today, under this fateful meeting of affinity, we have gone through the rituals of man and wife. As such, from this day forth, you shall remain my exclusive property. If I were to find out that you've been fooling around outside in the world, mark my words, you shall be the first I will kill once I break out of my seal. The flushed red face of the Fire Water Emperor was gradually diminishing into its perfect snow-white shade. When he had first heard the words, Lin Fan could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Everything was good as long as she did not kill him. After all, the world of violence is so scary. However, by the time he got to the words at the end, he felt something amiss. What, wasn't she taking yours truly as her toy boy now? Furthermore, what was up with their status? Exclusive property. This was an utter humiliation to the dignity of yours truly. Intolerable. Definitely intolerable. What, do you have any questions? The Fire Water Emperor stood tall and superior as she looked down at Lin Fan. Lin Fan gathered up his strength. At the same time, he summoned his heaven and earth smelt and hid himself right within. Insolent, you're the second woman that I've fucked in my life. I'm not a FCK boy who is merciless and heartless after I'm done with a girl. From now on, you shall be number 2. You must also obey the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. As such, you shall follow me along with my life according to my rules. If you dare to be impudent, I shall teach you a lesson. For the sake of that fleeting dignity of his, Lin Fan was giving it his all right now. At the same time, Lin Fan was feeling pretty unconfident in his heart while he was saying all of that. After all, he knew that he was weaker than her in terms of strength. Ha ha ha, hearing this, the Fire Water Emperor burst out into laughter. Those long locks of hers floated gently in the skies. Beneath that unparalleled gorgeousness of her face stood an air of superiority as a ruler. Just wait for me to break through my seal. By then, you can come before me and say that once more. As for the you right now, you ain't qualified just yet. Just as Lin Fan was about to refute that, the body of the Fire Water Emperor turned into small little water crystals and disappeared into the heaven and earth. Holy FCK, that gave Daddy a scare. Lin Fan heaved his bum down onto the floor with a thud and patted his chest in relief. That B*TCH was way too overbearing. However, the most important thing in one's life was their dignity and pride. To think that the B*TCH wouldn't give him any face at all. She deserved to be whacked. Right then, a black hole appeared behind Lin Fan. Before he could even react, he was sucked in instantly. Challenge passed. Entering the tomb. Chapter 579. Squeezed to death in a single palm. Chapter 579. Squeezed to death in a single palm. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. To think that I could enter this place just like that. Regarding the issue of him being tainted by the Fire Water Emperor, Lin Fan had long tossed it to the back of his head. Not only had that B*TCH engaged in a destructive infiltration of his body, she had even trampled on his dignity. Intolerable. Absolutely intolerable. After he raised his power level, he would grab her out for a long talk about life and moral values. At this moment, Lin Fan's mental state delved into his paradise. Ever since he had created this place with the assistance of the Fire Water Emperor, he hadn't gotten himself familiarized with it just yet. Upon entering his own paradise, Lin Fan was completely startled by everything before his eyes. Isn't this Saint Spirit Chi? Using his fingers, he grabbed out at a ball of mist that looked similar to Spirit Chi. However, the moment he grabbed it in his hands, he realized that this was Bigger Chi instead. Within the middle of the paradise, a flourishing ancient tree had taken root upright. Blossoming brilliantly, its luscious foliage was dazzling to behold. If only Chicky were here right now, he would definitely fall in love with this place. Lin Fan's mind could not help but wander to that Chicky he had left in the lower world, wondering how he was doing right now. The mythical parasol tree was the resting ground for the phoenix. Now that it had received the nourishment of the core of the twin true essence from the Fire Water Emperor, it had matured. At the top of the mythical parasol tree was a black hole. Dense Saint Spirit Chi converted into a gigantic dragon and was being sucked in continuously by the mythical parasol tree, before being cultivated into Shenyang pills. As of now, the rate of absorption of the Saint Spirit Chi by the mythical parasol tree, as well as its conversion into Shenyang pills, is hundreds of, no, thousands of times faster than before. From now on, I shall have access to this endless supply of Shenyang pills to use. This is simply awesome. Lin Fan was exhilarated right now. Based on this current speed of cultivation, he would be able to possess 10 million Shenyang pills in just a month's time. Unbelievable. This was akin to having 10 powerful beings of divine celestial level 5, undying state taking in Saint Spirit Chi day and night continuously. Suddenly, Lin Fan realized that his entire paradise was bright and sunny, with a scorching sun hanging at the top of it. On the other hand, there was a long flowing river that was gushing on the ground. Within those fiery flames in the running river were traces of the core of the Fire Water Emperor's true essence. However, after the cultivation of the system, it was as though they had severed all ties with the Fire-Water Emperor. From this day forth, they shall be Lin Fan's personal possessions. Far in the distance, a city sat still. This was the demon city. Above it, the big ancient demon was taking in the twin true essence for his cultivation. Master, Long Zan and Ziguang walked over together briskly, hand in hand. And what's this all about? Lin Fan asked. Master, this is a lovely place. From now on, I'll have a good place to reside with Ziguang. The twin cores of the Fire-Water Emperor's true essence would assist us in our cultivation. At the same time, the Shenyang pills produced by this mystical tree here would be enough for us to cultivate alongside that piece of rock there. Long Zan replied. Lin Fan had not expected a paradise as such to be created by himself. This place looked exactly just like heaven on earth. However, Lin Fan knew that despite its seemingly peaceful outlook, things would get extremely tragic if any enemies were to break in here. However, this was only the infantile state of the paradise for now. It still had ways to go before reaching the full cultivation state. At this moment, there were some disturbances coming from the outside. Hence, Lin Fan exited his paradise. Right now, they were at the tomb of the Fire-Water Emperor. Piece by piece, gigantic shards of gravel floated in the air. Below them was a pitch-black abyss of hell. Even with Lin Fan's current strength, he couldn't even make out the depth of this abyss. Up in the distance, a stream of light darted, currently being chased in pursuit. When Lin Fan made out the stream of light, he was elated while rushing up to help immediately. At this moment, Fairy Hongyun was trying her best to evade being hunted down. After she was sucked in by the black hole, she thought that she would be able to seek out the tomb of the Fire-Water Emperor really quickly. To think that she would be discovered by the ancient race the moment she entered the place. The two ancient race beings were of divine celestial level 2, realm state. The both of them were of the tribunus rank, under the direct command of Sovereign King Wei. Even though Fairy Hongyun possessed a pretty decent strength, allowing her to fight beyond her current capabilities, she didn't stand a chance against the both of them. The only reason why she had survived till now was due to the fact that she was someone of the cloud race. Because of that, her body naturally possessed an innate talent for being elusive and speedy. Otherwise, she would have been long dead by now. Where have the elders gone? Where are my senior brothers and sisters? Fairy Hongyun was starting to get nervous now. If this were to carry on, she would eventually exhaust all of her strength. By then, the only ending awaiting her would be death at the hands of these two. What's this? Suddenly, an enormous arm tore through the void. This arm had glistening nails while an aura swiveled within them, as though they formed a world of their own. It's a powerful being of paradise state. The blood drained out of Fairy Hongyun's face. There was no way she could resist this. An enemy of this level wasn't something she could deal with at all. However, right at the moment when Fairy Hongyun thought that she was about to be turned into powder dust, she realized that the arm was ignoring her entirely and heading straight for the two ancient race beings. Bam, bam, this unparalleled might exploded out into the world. As though a tornado was swiveling within the palms of this arm, it squeezed the two ancient race beings to death instantly. Loot, as though they were thoroughly analyzing the bodies, all 5 fingers worked hard at pulling out the paradise shards within the bodies of the two ancient race beings. Tossing them within the paradise as a form of nutrient for the mythical parasol tree, tens of millions of Shenyang pills were formed immediately. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 2, Realm State Ancient Race Being. Ding! Experience points plus 30,000 feet. ... Such formidable strength. Who in the world could this be? Fairy Hongyun turned her head around only to witness these two powerful ancient race beings being slaughtered helplessly just like that. Not just that, even their paradise shards were drawn out of their bodies. Such methods were earth-shattering and absolutely rattled one's mind. Fairy Hongyun, why are you alone? Lin Fan came before Fairy Hongyun, asking. The moment Fairy Hongyun heard this voice, her heart leapt with joy. Lin Fan. How did you find me? I only just entered this place when I caught sight of you being chased down by those two ancient race beings. Hence, I came over to assist you immediately. Lin Fan replied. Looking at Lin Fan, Fairy Hongyun's eyes sparkled with astonishment. She had suddenly realized that the aura of this man before her was different once again. You've broken through? She asked him, stunned. Yup, I got lucky and encountered some things. With that, my paradise was crafted out. Of course, Lin Fan could not tell her the exact circumstances in which he was forced into submission by the Fire-Water Emperor. Lin Fan was prepared to store facts as such right into his guts for all eternity without telling anyone else. After all, this was a matter of his chauvinistic ideals. If anyone else were to catch wind of this, how would he continue to keep up with his image in the ancient saint world? Looking at how Lin Fan admitted to her question, Fairy Hongyun had a feeling of defeat in her heart. The time taken for them to raise their power levels was extremely slow. Even if it were the geniuses within the sect, they wouldn't be able to be as sick as this guy here. We mustn't overstay at this location lest we fall behind. We've got to seek out the tomb of the Firewater Emperor. Lin Fan wanted a piece of the pie as well. Even though he had already received plentiful rewards upon his entry into the Firewater secret grounds, if there were more treasures awaiting, why shouldn't he try his luck? Who knew if his luck might just be that good for him to get out of this place with a perfect royal flush? He would truly have struck gold by then. I have already sensed the location of the elders and the others. However, the clashes over there are really intense. I'm afraid that we might be more of a hindrance than a help even if we were to head there. Fairy Hongyun explained. Initially, she had wanted to scout around the fringes for some small encounters here and there. As for the real tomb, she dared not to head within. With her current strength, if she were to head over, the only thing that would await her was death. There was simply no chance for her. It's all right, trust me, with me around, everything will definitely be fine. If he were still a divine celestial level 2, realm state being, Lin Fan might have considered for a little while. It'd be better for him to play on the safe side. However, with the materialization of his paradise, his power level had spiked up yet again. In fact, he might even be able to give a level 4, undying state being a run for their money. Furthermore, the speed at which his mythical parasol tree was collecting the saint spirit chi around was unusually fast. With a massive supply of Shengyang pills in his hands, Lin Fan was confident that he had the capabilities and resources to engage in a big bout with everyone. Chapter 580, Gathering of the Bad Guys. Chapter 580, Gathering of the Bad Guys. Eventually, Fairy Hongyun did not object to it. However, she knew that safety would have to come first no matter what. As for Lin Fan, everyone other than people from the Cloud sect were just experience points. This was a rare opportunity of a lifetime not to be missed. Pishu, pulling Fairy Hongyun with him, he disappeared from where he was instantly. Fairy Hongyun's perceptory senses were really accurate. There shouldn't be any mistakes. Upon getting closer to the destination, Lin Fan could sense some disturbances in the voids around him as well. Several sources of boundless powers were rippling through the void. He could sense a deep feeling of repression pushing towards him. Just as they both came to a stop, a rainbow cloud suddenly rose far from the distance. Those several sources of powers were cruising through the cloud. A gigantic giant was wearing a rainbow-colored armor. Using his enormous arms to rip the rainbow cloud apart, his knife-like hands slammed down on an armor plating. A loud sound rang out through the void, so piercing that one could almost feel their eardrums rupturing. Watch out, that is a move that requires one to expend all of their essence blood. If anyone could force our elders to that state, they must be definitely far from ordinary. Fairy Hongyun exclaimed in worry. Let's check it out for a little bit first to determine the exact situation. For the sake of safety, Lin Fan and Hongyun did not fly across the skies, choosing to tread on the ground instead. Right now, the scene was in a state of chaos, with fights breaking out amongst a few groups of people. Further down from where the fights were taking place was an altar with a coffin lying on it. These 4 groups of people were fighting over this coffin. One of the groups belonged to the elders of the Cloud sect. And by the looks of things, it didn't look all too good for them. Another group consisted of 4 ancient race beings. The 4 of them were really strong, with a thick aura emanating from them. Even though they were filled with wounds on their bodies, they only seemed to be fighting ever fiercer as time went by. As for the remaining 2 groups of people, it seemed as though they were lying in wait for something. Hey, old man Yunhee. How about you follow my suggestion of combining forces to take down the 4 ancient race beings first? We'll split the fortunes of the Firewater Emperor evenly then, how about that? Within the void, a man remarked. This man was draped in black, with a ghastly tinge to his skin tone. He was scrawny, with his eye sockets sunken in. From top to toe, he gave off a chilly aura, as though he wasn't even a living being at all. Old demon Kui Sheng, you've got to be dreaming if you think that the Cloud sect would work with people of the evil path such as yourself. The man who spoke these words was an elder of the Cloud sect. His long white hair stood upright like sharp swords as his entire body was guarded by a firm aura, causing his robes to float up from time to time. Behind him were 2 other elders with an enraged look on their faces as well. At the same time, there was yet another elder whose arms were both surrounded by a black mist. The black mist was corroding into him, causing him to lose his fighting strength. Then, we've got a problem over here. Old demon Kui Sheng sneered, revealing 2 rows of sharp-edged teeth. Since the Cloud sect refuses to acknowledge the bigger issue we have on hand, let's have them die in battle then. What has this got to do with us? A woman beside old demon Kui Sheng chuckled. Her fingers were extremely sharp, and she had furry ears. Her cat eyes were slit and jade green. The moment she opened her mouth, the atmosphere became extremely chilling. The portions of her body which were revealed were exceptionally ravishing. At first glance, one might mistake her as a humble daughter of a distinguished family. But one should not be mistaken, as her aura was unusually frightening. At this moment, there was yet another group of people waiting in the void. Even though they were not speaking, they were keeping their watchful gazes on the situation, as though they were just waiting for the last moment to strike. Life-stealing scholar, Brother Luo, and Brother Mu Tian, what's up with the 3 of you? Are you guys just watching there, or are you going to sit this out? Kui Sheng chuckled at these 3. However, his eyes were filled with cautiousness towards them. Since the Cloud sect wishes to fight the ancient race to their death, we shall fulfill their wish, of course. At the end of it all, we'll split the Fire-Water Emperor's treasure evenly. Mu Tian replied. This Mu Tian was none other than the person of the ghost race who was walloped so hard back in the Infinite Slaughter ancient realm that his parents might not even have been able to recognize his face afterward. However, he did gain a strain of the Infinite Slaughter ancient realm's spirit vein after all. In this short period of time, he had also managed to refine it and retrieve the power from within, making use of it to boost himself up to a divine celestial cultivation state. Thanks to the spirit vein, he skipped up instantly to a divine celestial level 2, realm state. With that, he managed to cultivate something that everyone from the ghost race had always looked forward to, 18 levels of hell. With just these 18 levels of hell alone, Mu Tian was undefeatable by anyone of the same state. In fact, he could even kill beings of the paradise state. Alright, that's our intentions as well. Kui Sheng naturally did not believe in those words of bullshit. He turned around to the ancient race, you guys can carry on. Don't worry, we'll definitely not interfere. Damn you shishts of the thousands of races. Even if you guys manage to obtain the treasure of the Fire-Water Emperor, you'll never get out of this place alive. The 4 ancient race beings huffed heavily. They had not expected things to end up as such. All of the ancient race beings who had entered had been killed by everyone else. They were the only 4 left alive right now. And, just when they were busy fighting it out with these elders of the Cloud sect, these 2 groups of people appeared out of nowhere. One of the elders of the Cloud sect was caught in a sneak attack by Mu Tian, causing his arms to be wrapped in a death aura. This death aura was extremely cumbersome to deal with. Even though he was at the paradise state, he couldn't remove it immediately at this moment. The elders, they're in danger. Looking at the situation up ahead, Fairy Hongyun commented in anxiousness. As for Lin Fan, some thoughts were running through his head right now. The strongest amongst them was a divine celestial level 4, undying state being. The weakest was Mu Tian, divine celestial level 2, realm state. However, compared to before, this guy's strength was significantly different. In fact, each of his eyes was of different colors, black and white, while emanating a ghostly aura. Just as Lin Fan was ready to rush forth and settle everything, Fairy Hongyun dashed up suddenly. Elders, I'm here to assist you guys. Looking at how her elders were being pushed back by the ancient race beings, Fairy Hongyun's heart was fretting. Even though it was a 3 against 4, one of the elders had his arms incapacitated from battle due to Mu Tian's sneak attack, and had lost all his fighting strength. Hongyun. The moment Elder Yunhe caught sight of the incoming figure, his face changed entirely. Slamming out at an ancient race being who was closing in on him with a single palm strike, he dashed over to her side. Why are you here? Yunhe had not expected Hongyun to come by. Elder, I've come to assist you guys. Hongyun replied without fear. Highs. Elder Yunhe gave off a long sigh. She was practically here to send herself to death. Even if they were to kill off the 4 ancient race beings, they still had to contend with the people from the evil path. Besides, those of the evil path had really sinister and vile methods. Compared to the ancient race, they were far scarier. When Fairy Hongyun caught sight of the surrounding masses, all the blood drained from her face. She knew who these people were. Each and every one of them was a callous and sadistic bad guy. This was especially the case for that life-stealing scholar and old demon Kui Sheng. They were extremely infamous. In fact, even the infinite bad old master was only a candle compared to them. To think a little doll of divine celestial level 1, true state would dare to come into the fray without any concerns for her life and death. Since you've come to give your life away, I guess my 18 levels of hell could use yet another ghost puppet then. Mu Tian looked at Hong Yun sinisterly. Along his way here, he had already slain quite a number of disciples from the Cloud sect as well as some ancient race beings. All of them were cultivated into his ghost puppets to bolster the strength of his 18 levels of hell. This time around, Mu Tian had already intended to kill everyone here to turn them into his ghost puppets. With that, he would be able to unlock the third level of the 18 levels of hell, the door of the ghost race. From there, he could summon out the infinite evil ghosts within the abyss of the ghost race.